Hello, and a very warm welcome from Blyton Park in Leicestershire and Lincolnshire, beg your pardon, trying to relocate it, for round 4 of the 2023 BTRDA Clubmans Rallycross Championship. The action's been going on all morning. You missed a few thrills and spills, and we were just watching some activity from in and around the paddock, various tweakings, prepping and getting ready for the rest of the day, including a wonderful eclectic selection of cars. And they are demonstrating that Blyton is well known for being windy. It is, after all, an ex-World War II airfield. The action and battling on today, though, is on the ground. Across the two surfaces are both gravelly loose stuff and traditional tarmac. And here we are for the first of 2 heats of the BMW Minis. Dave Ellis there in pole position on the left of our screens. Got James Hawkes right behind him. So there's Chris the Marshal waving everyone ready, waiting in anticipation. Away we go! Right, first of our live stream races, with Dave Ellis looking to be first into the first corner, which we know is so important in rallycross. Being the first, you can then dictate and defend. Over the loose. James Hawkes bringing up the rear. This is after all his first season in senior rallycross, having done so well in the juniors up until this year.
Lads, excuse me, lads.
Big jump from the 1300 Suzuki Swifts in juniors up to the 1600 supercharged R53 Minis. Chance to bunch up into the hairpin and then speed away for the last straight before the last corner and our finish line, finishing the first of our 4 laps. It'd be fair to say that the majority of rallycross drivers are male, and it's lovely to see an increasing number of lady rallycross drivers. Ladies, if you're interested, please join us. You'd be very welcome. Now, these cars being so evenly matched, it does lead to very close racing, as we're seeing here. Ben Sayer nibbling away at the back bumper of our leader, Dave Ellis. Wesley Wickens is currently in 3rd. Ben Sayer 1, traffic cone 0. About 100 miles an hour into the first corner. Hard on the brakes, left hand down, and then onto the rough. This is our second visit here this year to Blyton Park, and second layout of the year as well, with that last little bit of loose not being involved in our first round here in March. The racing's close with these 1600 minis screaming away. Sometimes you can hear the superchargers giving the sound of the traditional minis, the A-series minis with gearbox in sump. Many of us can remember, if you're old enough. say, just pulling away under acceleration as he enters his last lap. See the back of the cars coming light under braking, which is not uncommon for the back of the cars to come round. I know that from my own experience. But less of that, the better. One of the slower parts of the track is slalom around the tyres. As we then come up to the left-hander, follow the right-hander, and then on to the far end of the circuit with the hairpin. I think demonstrating my point earlier on how important it is to be first in the first corner. Our winner, Dave Ellis. Jarek Upchurch there. One of a whole fleet of near identical minis. Getting it slightly wrong there. Perhaps carrying a little bit too much speed or a little bit too much braking.
So
when you get it right, it's wonderful. When you get it slightly wrong,
right side of the
it's
bend,
painful.
So still like up here is absolutely fine. And then yes, so I'm going to catch them from
Coming round to pass over the finish line, back into the paddock to regroup.
I'm going right the way to here. Outside. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no worries. Nice one, cheers.
So that was the first of our 2 heats of middies. It's indicative of a good entry this year. This is lovely to see. So our second grid of middies, including, no, that's not the same Upchurch. Coming back out again. That'll be Jonathan Upchurch coming out to mark up onto the grid. There in our picture we've got Abby McGuinness, who's really taken to the minis ever so well. She was our runner-up last year in this particular category. Doing well, feeling confident, and getting quicker by the race. Looks like Alan Laidler at the back of the grid is either not in the right position, or he's been told he's a naughty boy and has to go back a bit further. So, Chris Humphreys, our start line marshal, making sure everyone is in exactly the right place. What a great job that our marshals do. Let's face it, we couldn't go racing without them. The point to make out is that all of our marshals are volunteers. They are not paid for this. They give up their own time, and boy are we grateful. So under starters' orders. And away we go. Now, pole position here at Blyton is on the left-hand side, which is not part of the regular track. It's the concrete rather than tarmac, which then makes it rather difficult as you're scrabbling for grip. You might have more adhesion on the tarmac itself. But Abby McGuinness has got away nicely. Oh no, that'll be Harrison Barnes in the green and red. Mini in 3rd place. Behind second lap. Gus Glass in second in a Bell Rallycross Team Mini. Harrison Barnes in third. Features of Rallycross, because of the changing surfaces, is that sometimes as the loose surface dries out, it does get very dusty. Earlier on, it was a little bit like a scene out of The Wizard of Oz. Earlier on, with the amount of dust being thrown up by the cars in front, making it a little bit tricky. However, the Bowser came out, sorted things out, and dampened everything down, including the dust. So then, of course, it makes it a little bit more tricky for those drivers going out next. They have different conditions from those that they were used to earlier on. Adds to the excitement of the Rallycross. As each lap, the circuit itself develops. More mud and loose is pulled onto the tarmac. To where there was grip earlier on, there might not be later on. A nice close-up of Gus Glass in his office. Well, so Harvey Harmon in the blue Mini gets past. As I say, when it goes right, it's very good, and when you make a little mistake, particularly with competition as close as it is, one mistake and you can lose a place or two. And even this is still holding a comfortable lead over Gus Glass. As with any form of motorsport, that can change in a moment. Coming to the last lap of this particular heat. Adam McGuinness keeping it clean. Extending her lead over Gus Glass a little. Into the last half of the lap, into the hairpin for the last time, and Gus Glass has really closed up. It's all to play for. Positions to the final later. And the last corner, and our winner is Miss Abby Guinness. So well done to Abby. Gus Glass second. So all set up now for our production production grid, collection of Suzuki Swifts, and there's James Ash with his Citroen C2. Not to be confused with the similar looking machine of Phil Chicken. This is not the Super 1600. Martin Peters with his Saxo, Rob Tinto with his Ford joining at the back, alongside Mark Henry in his very distinctive Alfa Romeo 147. And there we are. Mark Henry there, along with many of the other drivers, look after the cars. They prepare them, they repair them, and they drive them because they love the sport. Demonstrating the importance of Clubmans in the name Clubmans Rallycross Championship. So we've got Will Noon in pole position here in the, up until recently, Mark Finch owned Clio. So there's a bundle down into the first corner. Who's going to come out in the lead? And it is, well, it was Will Noon, but round the outside, what a manoeuvre. Everyone's in first place. Looks like Mark Henry's done very well in the first corner, coming out from towards the back of the grid into second place. Rob Tinto going a little wide, not the ideal line. James Ash. Our pole sitter Will Noon in third. Number 88 is Daniel Griffiths with his Citroen C2. Nice close action there. That's our fourth and fifth place holders at the moment. Catching up with our pole sitter, Will Noon. Oh, and here we go. Oh, hello. So Martin Peters, who had been leading for the first lap and a half, is suddenly slowing down. And looks like he's going to retire, unfortunately, as he comes back to the paddock. It's never a good thing to see. Hope he's able to get his repairs done and join us for the final later on. Mark Henry has been gifted a lead here. Will Noon with his new car. Hopefully he'll remember next time to put down the other bonnet pin. We don't want to see the bonnet flying up. It does rather stop with forward vision. So, James Ash in third. Will Noon in the light blue Clio, James Ash in third, right behind him. James getting a little bit of a slow exit from the hairpin, which has allowed Will Noon to get away a little bit. Trailing well in the wake of our leader, who goes around the first corner already. Mark Henry. Mark here is I believe, the only person in Rallycross currently competing in an Alfa Romeo. Certainly in British Rallycross. The car he's developed over several seasons himself, a bit of trial and error. Having to do it all himself because, well, others racing C2s and Clios, as we see here, can learn off each other's experiences. Our pioneer, our pioneer Mark Henry, coming in to finish his heat, and he takes the glory and takes a good position for the final later on. I'm sure our marshal doesn't really need to wave the flag. There's enough wind to show everyone that the race is over. Go back to the paddock. Next race this afternoon is the third heats for the classics. It's broken up into two grids because we have a nice healthy number of them. Taking pole position is Mr. Jamie McBain, who's having a much better day here this month in round 4 than he did in the first round in March, when unfortunately he clipped some tyre walls and parked the car on its roof, causing all sorts of damage to the inlet manifold, engine, suspension, and so it goes on. Those gremlins seem to have been worked out, and thankfully for Jamie, the car is behaving very well. So in the foreground there we've got Ryan Stutchbury in a similar Peugeot 205, but not to the same specification. It's a little bit more of a standard car, but with an interesting engine. Down the back row, Dan Swayland with his wonderful looking Mark 1 Escort, a joy to look at and to hear. Dale Ambrose on the outside of the front row. Alan Tapscott in the red Mark 2 Escort. It's the old battle of front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, and rear wheel drive has prevailed again. Should lead to a very interesting race. There's Alan Tapscott, who's been in Rallycross for many years now, very well seasoned campaigner, with his wonderful Mark II Escort, with powered by a Vauxhall red top engine. Is he going to be able to keep the recently rebuilt Peugeot 205 of Jamie McBain at bay? Keep watching and find out. Jamie McBain really makes up some ground there going into the corner. It's all about acceleration on the exit. There's nothing in it. Different characteristics of the front and rear wheel drive cars shown here as the Mark II is a little bit tail happy. The Peugeots are more planted. So these two are welded together. It's wonderful to watch. We like close racing, but don't like damage, don't like nudging. Rallycross is, after all, one of those sports where it's a non-contact sport. Contact does sometimes happen, of course. A bit of paint exchange. So under braking, closing up again. Jamie McBain pushing Alan Tapscott. Behind we've got Ryan Stutchbury, Dale Ambrose, and trailing is Dan Swayland, who's this wonderful Mark 1 Escort. It's only a 1600. Jamie McBain trying to get around the outside of Alan Tapscott. What an audacious move that would be. And he's done it. What a move. Incredible. Of course, Jamie would say that was all part of the script and not incredible at all, but it was fantastic to watch. Now the question is, can Alan keep with Jamie and put some pressure on him, force him into an error? There's still not much in it. It's car length between them. And it looks like Dan Swayland has taken Darryl Ambrose to leave Darryl in last position. Yes. So, meanwhile, Jamie McBain comes to finish his third lap. Entering the final lap, Alan Tapscott hard on his heels, going a little wide. Has that taken some grip and some speed off entering this long straight? Jamie certainly seems to have got that Peugeot 205 working well. It's very stable on the loose. Less dramatic to watch, but very fast and effective. And Tapscott lifting his inside front wheel under power, going around the corner. All things being equal, Jamie should go past the checkered flag first. He'll be very happy with that. And very hot with that as well, hence the opening of the door. There's Darryl Ambrose. Following Dan Swayland, who will also be happy with that. He's got a lot less power than most of the other riders on that particular race. And so ends our first of the two classics. Our next classic race should be quite a different story, with some very heavy hitters, some big bangers in the historic world. Some very distinctive cars too. Let's just wait for them to file out. Go. It's just had the smudge of Ian Biaggi's Mini, probably the oldest racing rallycross car anywhere in the world. There are parts of that particular Mini that date back to the prototype Mini from 1959. And there it is. It's only recently been rebuilt after what was quite an horrific crash at Knock Hill 3 seasons ago, when unfortunately Ian was found himself being being driven into the tie wall, and finding that a Mini against tie walls, the tie walls win. So as John Cross with his replica Lancia Stratos, it's not the real thing, but it is vast. In the foreground there, we've got Lee Wood with his Mark II Escort in John Welch replica, and Thomas Edmonds with his Corsa. It's nice to see Thomas come back to the sport. We missed him the first few rounds. And the car is now back together, and by quite some margin. Look at that. this I think is going to be an interesting race to see if John Cross in his Stratos can keep at bay the man on form this year, Lee Wood, with his Mark II Escort. And it's also wonderful to see a proper classic Mini in Rallycross. Mark I Escorts and Minis, of course, being permanent features on Rallycross in the early days from 1967 when our wonderful sport began. There we are. Interesting demonstration there of the straight line speed that John Cross has at his right foot. It's approaching 600 brake horsepower. The difference here, though, is that Lee Wood, whilst having probably less than half of that power, is in a very well handling Escort with a longer wheelbase, which makes it a little bit more stable. And there we go. Look at that, coming up on the inside of around the loose. What's John Cross got in the bag to counter that? Well, in a straight line, about 600 brake horsepower, but he's putting that power down, that's the problem. So John's got the grip between his teeth. He's been in this position a few times this season behind Lee Wood. Seems to have won almost every race he's competed in this year. Definitely the man on form. If any of you recognise the colour scheme used that on the Escort, it's a very close replica to the Mark II Escort that John Welch from Hampshire raced in the 70s and very early 80s before turning to his amazing Opel Kadett 4-wheel drive. So it's Thomas Edmonds leading by a short margin from Ian Biaggi. Demonstrating these last two races, demonstrating what a wonderful collection of cars we have in historics. Front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, front engine, rear engine, mid engine, it's all here. Oh. Now it's Ian taking an alternative approach to that last corner. Not necessarily the quickest, and hopefully he's not disturbed the starting line timing gear. That'll be a bit of a disaster. So Lee Wood, for the last time in this race, enters the hairpin. John Cross is much closer this time. What's going to happen is the entrance to the last corner. Look at the difference in speed. But Lee's put himself in just the right place to make it near enough impossible for John Cross to get by. And so, to everyone's surprise, not least my own, they have another lap, which is fantastic. Gives us some more excitement to look forward to. It's this cat and mouse game that continues. So what can Lee do about this? John seems to have his dander up. And he's pulling a gap from Lee Wood. Now, is that a problem with the Escort? Hello. We shall send out I'm going to send out a search party for the Escort. What on earth has happened? It's been a paragon of reliability all season. And there it is, parked up. There's Thomas Edmonds going past. And Ian Biaggi. and one unhappy, frustrated Lee Wood. Followed by, well, and now we see one happy Mr. John Cross in his 52nd year in motorsport. And what a gap he pulled out from the rest of the field. Right. Apologise, ladies and gentlemen, for the slight delay before the next race starts, as we have a Mark II Escort that needs to be recovered. Well, it would appear that that the guys did an extra lap. Well, at least all the guys except for Lee Wood did an extra lap. Lee was leading going into that, what we thought was the final lap. Maybe he stopped out on track just simply because he didn't have enough fuel to do an extra lap. After all, why carry around more fuel than you absolutely have to? When we find out what the problem is with Lee's car, we'll let you know. And whilst we wait for the broken down Escort to be recovered, here we have the grid for our next race, which features the juniors, the 13 to 17 year olds in their 1300 Suzuki Swifts. We also have a Nissan Micra. Happiness is Rallycross, that's what that says to me. So our pole sitter for this particular heat is Will Ovenden, the youngest member of the Ovenden Motorsport dynasty, and alongside him is young Teddy McPherson, both in 1300 Suzuki Swifts. In the second row we have Phoebe Cake on the inside, and alongside her is Corey Paget. And on the back row, number 8, Harvey Hutchinson. Well, at least Lee Wood has been found and recovered. We'll soon be in the paddock where there'll be some scratching of heads and looking under a bonnet to work out what's gone wrong, so that hopefully we can see Lee racing a little bit later on. And now we're back with our grid, ready for the first of 2 heats of our juniors. And isn't it wonderful that we have 2 heats of grids of juniors, that there are so many juniors in the sport. I can remember a time only a few years ago when there might have only been 2 or 3. So 12 and 13-year-olds, now's your time to have a word with mum and dad to see if you can join in and have some rallycross fun. Cars are available to be hired, and you can inquire through the BTRDA Rallycross website. So Chris Humphreys gives his lunch orders and gets off the track, and away we go. So the red car on the left is our pole sitter Will Ovington. Will he be leading? Yes, he will. Under close attention of Corey Paget. Now this is a situation we've seen a number of times this year. The two of them often appearing glued together in one way or the other, one in front of the other. Ah, there's Harvey Hutchinson. Looks like he's picked up a bit of bodywork damage and is stranded out on track somewhere. Now, can he get it going again? Or will we see a yellow flag? Or worst of all, a red flag? Young Will Ovington heading into the hairpin for the first time. Pulling out a little bit of a lead. Ah yes, we do have a red flag. Unfortunately, Harvey is in a position that's deemed unsafe. So our drivers will return back to their original grid positions and to start the race again, but being the cause of the red flag, Harvey Hutchinson will not be able to rejoin the race. Hope that he's okay, and hope the car is all right too, and that we see him again later. So there's Teddy McPherson just coming back to the grid. So it's a well-disciplined bunch of drivers. They're holding back from the grid before being called onto their grid positions. And something like this, every time I see these guys racing and meeting up in the paddock, I'm very impressed with the way that how mature these 13 to 17-year-olds are. The great show of sportsmanship that they have, so that whoever's won, there'll be a group of the others hanging around them congratulating them for winning, and just being genuinely delighted that one of them has won, which might sound strange, but I think it's a real lesson to be taken for the seniors. Driving onto their original grid positions, but this time sadly without Harvey. So just to the left hand side of our screen you can see the medics are there with Harvey. Maybe he's had a bit of a turn, bit of a roll. We're not sure yet. But as always, it doesn't take long for the marshals and the medics to be on site. There we go. That's good to see that Harvey's out of the car, and our travelling doctor doing some paperwork. Marshall on the right hand side has got Harvey's helmet and hands device. Very good safety feature that stops heads being thrown around too much if there is an accident. The downside to it is that if you've got someone alongside you, you can't, as you would normally, look over to your right or left shoulder to see them, because the hands device holds your head fairly straight in front of you. Sometimes door mirrors don't work very well either if they're jiggling around at speed over the rough circuit. So Right, here we go then. Let's have a look in the background. Let's keep an eye. Oh, right. So it looks like Harvey just clipped the tyre wall with his inside wheels, which was enough to throw the car over. Something that is, unfortunately, so easily done. But it's good to see him on his feet, looking at the car. It will be telehandled. I think that's the right verb. Telehandled back to the paddock, where they can check to see that everything's all right. Oh, here we go. Another view of what's happened. Look in the background on the right-hand side, perhaps. Yes, there we go. Ooh, ouch. I think Harvey will remember that for a long time.
It was so insignificant.
And hopefully, between Harvey and his granddad, the wonderful Vince Bristow, who's well known for driving a lot sideways a lot in his 3 Series BMW whilst rallycrossing, they'll be able to get their Citroen sorted out, either to race later on today or for our next round, which is at the end of this month, the end of July, at Lyddon Hill, the birthplace of rallycross. So whilst the recovery is taking place, our drivers, probably with doors open, to stop them getting stewing in their own cars, waiting patiently. And that's what I'd ask, dear viewer, for you to do as well, to wait patiently, and we shall be back in just a second.
It's still on 3 at the moment. Just, do you think that, right, you see where that photographer is? Do you think that would be a better place for next time? Yeah, only because when there's been, like, when 1 and 2 aren't close to each other, when they come round that corner on a 160 on full wide, you can't get them both in. At least that side, you could let one pass. You know what I mean?
Right, this is a sort of on-track action that we don't really want to see. The telehandler coming the wrong way up the track with the poorly car. Thinking of poorly cars, we've had an update on Lee Wood's car. Apparently he's put a rod through the block, and that was done on the extra lap. So I can understand him not necessarily being terribly happy at that thought, but I do hope that Lee's able to get the car sorted out and working as well as it has been all season in the very near future. we go for the rerun of first heat of the for the juniors, and a carbon copy of what we saw the first time round. We've got Will Ovenden leading Corey Paget, and Teddy McPherson following on. Notice the decal on the back of Teddy's car with Peter Gwynn's Rallycross School decal on the back. He's hiring the car, and if you wanted to, you could hire one of those as well. Join us in the wonderful world of Rallycross. So we've got Will Ovenden hard on the brakes for the hairpin for the first rotation on this particular heat. And Corey is close behind. No time to relax. Oh, so Corey's got the cone there. And he's gone a little bit wide as well. We've lost a little bit of traction, a little bit of space compared with Will in front. You can almost see the concentration going through the helmet of Corey Paget at that point. Desperately trying to keep on to the coattails of Will Ovenden just ahead. Mr. Kev Hutch, the photographer. We've got a red flag. We understand there's someone walking on the track. So safety is primary here in any form of motorsport, and whether it's a lost rambler or a Rallycross groupie trying to get too close to the action, either way, oh goodness me, there we are. I think they're lost in every sense. Well, I've never seen that before. I can remember a reverend running out at Silverstone in front of Formula 1 cars about 15-20 years ago, but that was a deliberate act. It looks like this particular person's wandering around completely oblivious of the danger that they are in. As we pass the signs going into any motorsport track, there will always be signs saying motorsport is dangerous. Thankfully, I don't think we've ever had a fatality in Rallycross anywhere, but and we don't want to start today, thank you very much. There's an awful lot of safety and security equipment in each of these cars. Safety procedures here, there and everywhere, because we want to enjoy our sport, not have it curtailed by health and safety people in day glow suits. So we've got a short wait here whilst this person is removed from the track and asked politely not to return and to make their way out as soon as possible. We have in the forefront of the of our picture is Phoebe Cake, daughter of Chris Cake, who has been in the sport for the last 20-25 years, racing in various categories within Rallycross, and handing the Rallycross baton over to his daughter Phoebe, who's in her first season with us, and the juniors is the ideal place for her. Well, mainly because she wouldn't be old enough to join in the senior racing. So, as we are about to start the restart of our race, with Chris having some feeling of deja vu there as he walks off into point of safety. I'm joined by Mr. John Rook, who's the man in charge and doing a very good job too. John, what are your thoughts?
Cheers, Steve. And yeah, we just started that junior rerun. We've got Will Ovenden out in front. I think he's chased hard by Corey Padgett, and then I think it's Teddy McPherson in third. So yeah, no, the juniors have had some great action through the day so far. Unfortunately, it was Harvey Hutchinson that rolled in the first run of this race, and I think we've got Phoebe Cake down there in fourth place. So Will Ovenden had a heat win or a race win and a heat win in heat one, and he was in fourth place in heat two. So we'll be looking for a good run in this race to hopefully get a pole for the A final, I think.
It certainly looks like he's paving a good way to be in that front left corner of the grid. But whether that's a huge advantage or not remains to be seen, given that it's off the racing line on the rough concrete, and also if you carry on in a straight line from that pole position, you're straight into a tyre wall. So at some stage you've got to turn right a bit to go left.
Indeed, and yeah, Corey's trying to chase down Will. So Corey's had a good day so far. He's had a third place in heat one and a second place in heat two so far. So again, I think he'll be looking for a front row start alongside Will on the front. And yeah, Phoebe Cake's having a good debut here at Blyton, and yeah, she has some good heat results so far in heats one and heat two, as they're now on lap 2 of 4.
It's just great to see these youngsters enjoying themselves in the paddock as well as out on track, certainly being the future of the sport, and indeed demonstrating that they are the present of the sport as well. So please do consider, have you got a young member of the family who's hankering to exercise the petrol in their blood and get out on track? This is no form of motorsport is cheap, I'm sure you'd agree, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's a relatively inexpensive way of getting into motorsport, and the added advantage of our Junior Rallycross Championship is you can actually start from the age of 13, which for Motorsport UK terms is the only discipline in motorsport on four wheels where you can actually start at the age of 13. So yeah, it's provided some great talent in the past, like Andrew Jordan, became British Rallycross champion and BTCC champion, started in juniors. And yeah, you said, Steve, that Chris Cake's daughter Phoebe obviously starting here in juniors as well. So yep,
keep it in the family.
Keep it in the family indeed.
Yes, certainly there are ways that people get into motorsport at a younger age still, but they tend to be go-karts and things like that. But here we have a full-size car, all based on the Suzuki Swift. Not the current model, of course, but fairly standard type of criteria in Rallycross, used in the BTRDA and in the British Rallycross Championship too. I don't suppose there are very many Suzuki Swifts of this shape left in scrapyards. They've all been taken apart for racing in Rallycross.
Yeah, they'll probably start to come across the same problem we have in production, that parts are getting in short supply, and when you can't find them, they're pretty expensive. But yeah, we're starting the last lap now, so Will Ovenden's out in front, chased fairly hard by Corey Padgett, and I think it's Teddy McPherson, who's never been to Blyton before, so it's his first trip around Blyton here today, and I think it's only his third or fourth Rallycross event in third place, and then we've got Phoebe Cake in fourth. So yeah, on the last lap, and like I say, Will's just trying to get a good time in here to try and get himself on pole position for the all-important A final when the championship points will be dished out. And obviously in the previous race we saw Tyler McAlpin, I think he came home in first place, so I think it'll be between them two to get themselves in pole position for the final. Some might say with the pole position being where it is on the inside of the first corner, some would say maybe it's not the right place to start. Some prefer to start in third place on the grid, actually on the outside, but
take the outside line. Each
to their own. If you make a good start, as we know in Rallycross, you can normally take the win, to be fair. So yeah, Will's just coming down the last straight, going to turn around the right-hander and come across the line for a good heat win. And yeah, he wins. Corey Padgett coming home in second place, and then in third place will be Teddy McPherson. Bit of a gap between second and third, but Teddy will be there in third. And then Phoebe has been lapped and a lap down, but Phoebe will be coming home in 4th place.
It'd be fair to say it's quite unusual to see overtaking or lapping, I should say, in Rallycross. It's not anything bad from Phoebe's point of view. She's learning the steps and pedals and wheels and everything else, as well as learning the circuit. So all very good for her. It's lovely to see. Our second group of juniors now taking up the formation on the grid, led here by Jimmy Jeekins in the Nissan Micra that was previously campaigned by his older brother Alfie to very good effect, previously winning the junior category himself. Both cheered on and supported by Dad Bert. And who else have we got on the grid? We have Ben Crossley. There we are, with his Suzuki Swift. And behind him on the outside is Tyler McAlpin and Holly Woolley, another of our lady drivers. I think I'm right in saying this is Holly's second season. Clearly enjoying herself, which is, after all, what it's all about. But didn't get off to a very good start there. So leading into our first corner is young Jimmy Jeekins, under lots of pressure from Tyler McAlpin trying to go around the outside. Unconventional, but it could work. No, Jimmy's staying in front, sliding wide, as they all do as they go onto the rough. Hard on the brakes, different lines going into that corner, and Tyler is done alongside. Goodness me, that was an unusual, audacious overtaking manoeuvre. Well done, Tyler. That's incredible. Now it's down to Jimmy to keep his head, not get frustrated, not overdrive the car, but to keep close, following Tyler's tyre tracks. As they come to finish the first lap of 4 in this particular race. So Ben Crossley is in 3rd, and Holly Woolley is bringing up the rear and catching up with Ben Crossley. So Tyler taking a wide line to then dip in and straighten that corner into this short straight onto the rough, which has featured on the circuit here at Blyton Fast. Didn't last time we were here in March, but it's back again in use. Around the rubbery slalom of tyres. We've got Tyler just eking out a little lead here over Jimmy, and Holly is closing right up on Ben Crossley.
So I'm back with you, Steve. So yeah, we've got Tyler McAlpin out in front, and yeah, Tyler, similar to Will, really looking for a pole position or a front row start. Certainly, he's had a second place in Heat 1, and he won Heat 2. So Tyler's doing very well, and Tyler's currently leading the junior championship from BTRDA. In second place, we've got the Micra for Jimmy Jeekins, and then Ben Crossley. Ben's only in his second ever Rallycross event. He did his first Rallycross event, down at Lydden Hill at Easter, the Easter weekend, and then he's been chased hard by Holly, and yeah, those guys are probably battling over a second row start in the A final. So yeah, no, it's fairly close between those two guys at the moment, but yeah, Tyler's out front, and then yeah, Jimmy's there in second place. So good close race so far.
Now then,
In fact, yeah, massively close the gap. Yeah, sorry, we didn't see what happened to Jimmy there, but Jimmy's dropped way back off the back of Tyler and is now in the clutches of Ben Crossley. So Ben's gaining hard and fast, and then we've got Holly in 4th place, but it's extremely close between these three, and like I say, these three are probably battling for a second row start come the A final. So yep, on the last lap.
I wonder if Jimmy had missed a gear, or maybe gone wide, just lost the back of the car a little bit. We don't know, we didn't see, but certainly seems to have lost a lot of ground there. And to our leader, there he is, Tyler McAlpin. He's been driving very consistently all day, consistently fast.
Indeed, yeah, just going on to the loose section there. So this is the second event of the season where the middle section there, where they go through the jump, has been removed, and some of the straights have been lengthened, and certainly has increased the flow of the circuit, and it certainly is a lot faster. I think it's about 10 mile an hour faster than it was in the past. So it looks like Tyler's on his last lap going to come through, and last couple of turns down the straight, and then he'll take the win. And then yeah, let's see who we've got into second place. Will possibly still be Jimmy Jenkins.
Wait to see. Certainly the drivers I've spoken with, many of them, seem to prefer this layout with the longer drive up to the hairpin that we've just seen Tyler go around, compared with previous versions of the circuit. So
that's the flag for Tyler there, and I think that Jimmy's just going to come around the last turn and claim second place, and then
yes,
we've got Ben Crossley in 3rd, and then Holly Woolley finishing in 4th place. And that's the 3 qualification heats for juniors finished. We've got the A final to come up, where we'll have all 9 cars on the grid at once, which will be fun and frantic. And then now we're just going to move into the last race of Heat 3 before the all-important final starts, and this is the FIA cross cars. Got our largest grid here that we've seen so far this season, with 5 cross cars on the grid so far. After the 2 heats, it was Will Butler with maximum points so far, and had 2 first places in Heat 1 and 2. Luke Holly's currently in 2nd qualification position,
and currently on screen.
Indeed, he had a 2nd place and a 3rd place. And then it's David Attiwell, Stephen Burke and Ethan Rouse taking up the top 5. So let's see how they line up on the grid. We should have number 23 on pole position, and it is indeed Luke Holly. Alongside him, fellow Devonian, David Attiwell, also in a Yakar. He's got the 850cc engine. The other 4 cross cars on the grid have all got the 600cc engines. On the 2nd row of the grid we'll have numbers 32 and 111s. So 32 will be Stephen Burke on the inside, 111's Ethan Rouse, and then taking up the rear should be number 70, which will be Will Butler. So Will, currently top qualifier, starting at the back of the grid. He can't be beaten, so he will start the final on pole position, but these guys have provided some great racing so far today, and I'm sure this third heat race will be as frantic as ever.
They're very dramatic to watch, aren't they, John? Particularly given that they have so much more power than they have grip, which means that the drivers are kept busy the whole time, even going in a straight line, and often lifting the front inside wheel, going around corners under power. David Attiwell got a little bit of a sideways squiggle there coming off the line, which means I think Luke Holly, yes, is our leader. David Attiwell right up behind him. He's taken the easy option, David has, with perspex screens on the side to keep the bad weather off.
Yeah, keeps the dust and the dirt out. And yeah, in 4th place we've got 32, and that's Stephen Burke making his debut in these FIA spec cross cars. I think we may, is that a red flag? Yeah, we've got a red flag. I think it's Will Butler that was still left on the grid. Just trying to see.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 424 Ethan Rouse that was starting on the 2nd row. Sorry, the back row of the grid. Sorry, that remains stationary on the grid. So as we
not gone far, has he?
No, he hasn't got very far. No, as we run over the start and finish line on every single lap, then yeah, the organisers have got no alternative but to throw the red flag in that one. But yeah, hopefully he can get it restarted for the rerun. And this is the last race of Heat 3, and there'll be a short delay while we accumulate the grids for the finals, and then we'll we'll go live with the finals shortly after that.
Now, in case anyone thinks that the positions for the finals are just about spinning a bottle, that's not the case, is it, John?
No, we don't do BTCC wise. We don't pick balls out of a hat. All the drivers in all the categories have competed in 3 qualification heats across the day. Their 2 lowest point scores added up together, and then depending on where those points fall depends on the grid positions for the finals.
And this is where winning gives you 1 point, or lower number of points.
Correct.
So
yeah.
the better you do, the closer to the front of the grid you are for the final.
Correct. Yeah. So if you have 2 first place positions in heat 1 and heat 2, you can't be beaten. You'll be on pole for the final. And like I say, ultimately the qualification during the day is for the grid for the final, and then when it comes to the grid for the final, that's when we are positioned in that, or what determines the championship position. So all to play for, and as you said yourself, these FIA cross cars, the drivers have a choice of around 14 different manufacturers to choose from. There's 2 different engines they can choose from, either a 600cc or the 850cc. David Attiwell's the one with the 850, everyone else has got 600. They typically weigh, including driver, around 425 kilos, or certainly that's the weight limit. A few of them after lunch, I guess, will be slightly heavier. So power to weight, they are one of, if not the most powerful power to weight ratio rallycross vehicles that we've got, certainly in the UK.
And about the fastest lap times that we're going to be experiencing today.
Indeed, yeah, definitely. And even when we go to Lyddon in 4 weeks' time on the 29th of July, again they'll be well recognised as being the quickest ones there. So here we are with the rerun. Again, let's see if Luke Holley can make a great start from pole position. He's got David Attiwell alongside him, and then we've got Will Butler.
Made another squiggle off the line, but it looks as though he's done the business.
He's beaten this time, so
yeah.
David Attiwell's beaten Luke off the line, and it's David that goes down into first spot, chased by Luke Holley, and then we've got Stephen Burke in 3rd place, and then we've got Will Butler, which is the top qualifiers so far, in 4th, as the dust does get kicked up a little bit, but thankfully it's a windy day at Blyton here today, so the wind is chasing that away. So
drying out the surface quickly.
Yes, we can see Stephen having a few dramas there and dropping down from 3rd and possibly dropping down into 4th place, but they're keeping it clean, which is great.
It's good to watch, and it's the one thing that you don't want to see with these karts driving in such close proximity, is whether they're all open wheeled. It would be quite straightforward for one car to go over the wheels of another, which we wouldn't want to see. So it's good to see that clean racing giving it their all, as Luke Holley leads into the first corner of the 2nd lap of this race.
Nice and close at the front at the moment. So Luke's gone wide, kicking up more than one cone. He's actually dropped from the lead down to 3rd. So David Attiwell takes up the lead. We've got the top qualifier so far. Will Butler's slotted himself nicely into 2nd place. His Rotic Engineering company is sponsoring this category alongside the championship and SGS Gases, which is great support from some of our sponsors. And then in 4th place we've got Stephen Burke.
And Luke has actually got an extra aerodynamic aid to his cross car, and he's got a cone under the front axle.
It certainly won't be helping his speed. Let's hope that gets cleared fairly quickly.
Might not help his steering either.
No, probably not. But
a little less traction.
Coming into start lap 3 with David Attiwell up front. As I say, that machine's the 850cc machine. Will Butler in 2nd, and Luke's now removed the cone, so he should now be free to chase down. And 1st and 2nd we've got Will trying to dare him manoeuvre around the outside of David, and he doesn't want to be out there, otherwise he'll be getting the same issue Luke had, I think.
I wouldn't want to be a cone on the outside of that particular bend, John. That's a very dangerous place to be.
No, wouldn't want to be a cone, and I wouldn't be a stray hair either, to be fair. But
no.
Small mistake there from Will, and
Luke is trying ever so hard to do all he can to get that 2nd place back again.
He is, and we're going to shortly be coming around to start the last lap, and I mean, from qualification so far, Will's going to start on pole, which is the 2nd place kart in this one, but I think between David Attiwell that's leading and Luke Holley be between those guys in qualifying second and third when it comes to the A final in a little while. So yeah, we're starting lap number 4.
That's really not much between them at all on track. There's the gap between them is hunts and drops again. It gets a bit larger and then drops. Here we go, taking a very interesting line around the outside there.
Yeah, Will's determined to try that outside manoeuvre around that corner, and yeah, it hasn't worked so far, but he's keeping in close contact and pushing Mr. Attywell hard at the front. He's in second. Luke's right behind them there in third place, so this is probably going to go all the way down to the flag. And even though Will's qualified on pole for the final, he's wanting a race win, as all drivers do, I guess.
Yeah. He wants a clean sweep, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
It's not far off it. Anything can happen.
Well, Luke's trying to get an inside manoeuvre there, and
I think they're probably
a close run down
tripping
to the flag,
over each other and letting David away a little bit.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, second
corner.
and third of.
So David Attywell
come
leads.
close. Yeah, David Attywell wins. But
Well,
Butler's got a
second.
close second, and Luke Holly in third.
Luke, a fag papers
Stephen
behind.
Burke in fourth place. So that concludes the end of all of qualification races for all of the categories. We'll pull together the grids for the finals, and we'll go live with those, I guess, in around 15, possibly 20 minutes. And yeah, like I say, that's where the championship points will be decided. So
Steve, I don't know him, mate, but I don't know him, please, but that much.
Dad? Do you know Ray? Yeah, Ray's in. Good. I'll send you a picture.
What about not?
Not Cam.
Not Cam?
You want some ground maintenance, Dan? Edit. Yes, I am. really well. Really well. How's yours?
Thank you.
What are you doing? Ray, what is it? Sims, yeah.
Cycling.
Okay, good afternoon, and we're back here at Blyton Park for round 4 of the Cooper Tyres BTRDA Rallycross Championship, and it's our first A final, and this is the modified 4x4 final. So we've got five cars on the grid, and these are made up of 2 classes. So we've actually got production 4x4, which is Thomas Ramanauskas on pole position, his Mitsubishi Evo 4. We've got Chris Baker alongside him in his Subaru Impreza. And then on the outside we've got number 18, Andy Hawks, and then on the second row, I think by himself, is number 93, David Bell, and the car that seems to be missing at the moment is number 15, which is Max Langmaid. So all the A finals are 6 laps in length. This category is sponsored by MacG Racing, and I think they're potentially going to come under starters orders. They are indeed. So let's see who gets away off the line. And it was Max Langmaid, who's not starting this, actually won the A final back in March. So let's see if top qualifier Thomas gets off the line, wait for the green lights, and away we go. In actual fact, it's Chris Baker in the Subaru Impreza that makes the better starts of the 5 cars and leads into turn 1, closely followed by Thomas Ramanauskas in the Mitsubishi, but it was Andy Hawks trying round the outside and now the inside, and in 4th place we've got David Bell. So obviously, as you can see, the circuit has been watered during the break, so we've gone from dust to spray, and yeah, these 4-wheel drive cars should be able to cope with those conditions very well indeed. So yeah, it's Chris Baker who's having a great day so far, leads them through the middle complex and then onto the two long back straights. It's Thomas that's taking up 2nd place, and then we've got Andy Hawks in 3rd, and then we've got David Bell in 4th. So yeah, like I said, this category is made up of 2 classes. We've got what was the production 4x4 vehicles, typically your Mitsubishis and your Evolution Mitsubishis, and then we've got the brand new all 4 Countrymans, which are going through quite a significant development phase at the moment in the engine management, the ECUs, diffs and gearboxes, and yeah, they're picking up positions 3 and 4 in this race as we look at it at the moment. So we did have 3 of those cars entered today. I don't know the reason why Max Langmaid hasn't started the final. Disappointing as it is. So yeah, Andy Hawks is keeping the two in front honest, and like I say, we've still got Chris that's led away from the lights. Chris Baker in the Mitsubishi, in the Subaru Impreza leading the way. Thomas Romanowskis with the windscreen wipers going in second place with the Mitsubishi, and then Andy Hawks in third place. And Steve has joined me back in the commentary box. So yeah, Steve, take over.
Well, thank you very much, John. Yeah, it's good to see Chris Baker out in front, because he's had more than his fair share of bad luck in recent rounds with the various engine and gearbox problems. Looks like things are firing on all cylinders in every sense for him today, chased as would be expected by Thomas Romanowskis, who is very popular, very keen rallycross driver and rally driver as well. Here he is in his Mitsubishi Evo, chasing the tail of Chris Baker's Subaru, and in other weekends we've got Thomas rallying in a very similar Subaru Impreza. So it's all very close, with the Mini all fours very close behind.
Obviously on lap 3 now, and Thomas has definitely closed the gap and will be chasing down Chris Baker. Thomas is currently leading modified 4x4 the championship so far. As I say, Chris Baker had dramas down at Pembrey at the previous events. He had clutch failure in day 1 on the Saturday, didn't start day 2. So Thomas had an easy run down there with two wins. So Chris will be looking to overcome any problems and potentially take his first modified 4x4 win, although he did have some wins in production 4x4 when it was just a production 4x4 category. And these two have now taken a bit of a gap ahead of Andy Hawks in third place. And yeah,
see
Thomas
how
is pushing hard.
heavily they're trying, aren't they? Both of these guys really want the win. They don't want to let the other one
Thomas
take
is
the top spot on the podium.
There was a Scandinavian flick there from Thomas. He's certainly picking up some rally traits, having done a bit of rallying recently, and he's certainly thrown a Mitsubishi around. Maybe if he was a bit smoother, he may well close the gap down. But
now, was he playing to the fact that the Bowser has been out and dampened down the loose, or was he caught out by it? It's difficult to know.
Yeah, he's certainly trying hard. Andy Hawks has dropped back a little bit in third place. David Bell is in fourth place with his all 4 countrymen. And yeah, just about to start lap 5 of 6. We've got an increase of 2 laps when it comes to the A finals. So yeah, 6 lap A finals. Like I say, this category is sponsored by MacG Racing, and is a brand new category for this year, incorporating both classes with the minis and the production 4x4 vehicles.
It's good to see
all in one place.
Good to see the combination of the types of vehicle racing together, because although the vehicles themselves are very different, the all 4 minis compared with the modified 4x4s, there's not that huge a difference when it comes to performance out on track. We've got Thomas being a little bit flamboyant. I think maybe he's taking a leaf or two out of Vince Bristow's book, with going sideways rather a lot. Would he be quicker if he kept it neater?
Potentially. And yeah, as you're saying there on the specs, obviously the clues in the title, the 2 vehicles at the front are production 4x4 vehicles, so they're in theory, as per they came from manufacturer, but they are significantly lighter than the vehicles behind. So although the vehicles behind the all 4 countrymen have got more of a modified advantage, I guess, with they've got freedom of ECU, engine management, turbos, and also some of the transmission on those vehicles, which does put them above production spec because they're a much more modern car. They are slightly heavier, so as Steve says, it does certainly even out the racing a little bit, although the gap has increased here to the minis, and Thomas is still trying to push down on the last lap and push Chris all the way.
Neither of them are resting. They can't afford to keep their eyes very carefully on what's going on ahead. So is it Chris Baker for his first win of the season?
Yeah, I think so. And Steve's going to leave me in the commentary box now to go and do an interview with the A finalists. So as long as it doesn't change within the next 150 metres, Chris should be the one getting the interview, which will appear on on the highlights shown on TV at a later date. So yeah, good win for Chris, and first win for a long time in his Subaru Impreza. Thomas Ramanauskas comes home in second place, again in another production 4x4 car. Andy Hawkes there in third place with the All 4 Countryman, and then we've got David Bell and another All 4 Countryman coming home in fourth place. The next final up will be the junior final, and I'm sure this will be a fun and frantic race. We've got Will Ovenden on pole position, having had three great heats. Tyler McAlpin's there in second position on the grid and starting in the middle of the front row, and then we've got 3-2-6 Corey Padgett on the outside of the front row. Like I said in slightly early commentary, some would say the outside of the front row is a better place to start, so we'll see how Corey gets on off the line. Then on the second row we've got 754, which is Jimmy Jeekins. We've got 119, which will be Teddy McPherson, and then on the third row we've got the balance of the junior cars, which is made up of number 59 Holly Woolley, number 56 Ben Crosley, who's only in his second ever Rallycross event, and then unfortunately not starting the year final was number 8, which is Harvey Hutchinson, which was then Citroen C2 driver that rolled in Heat 3. The car's too badly damaged to come out for the final. And then also non-starting will be 631 Phoebe Cake. So we've got a seven car rear final here, and again it's going to be over the 6 laps, and let's see whether it's Will, Tyler, or potentially Corey going down into turn 1 and manage to lead the final away. But I'm sure between the three of them it will be close, and I know Tyler McAlpin will be looking for a good result, as he's currently leading the BTRDA Junior Championship, which is sponsored by AVM Motors. So as the start line marshal moves across the grid, puts him under starter's orders, we wait for the green lights. And who's it going to be off the line? And away we go. And it looks a fairly even start at the moment, and it'd be interesting to see. And it looks as though both Tyler McAlpin coming around the outside of Will Ovenden. It's those two that are going down into turn 1. In fact, it's the middle of the front row that slightly had the lead there just for a fraction, but it's Will Ovenden that's come away. And then in second place I think it was Corey Padgett. Third place we had Tyler McAlpin, and then it's Jimmy Jeekins in fourth place, and Ben Crosley I think possibly getting caught out by the water on the track there, but has kept going. So yeah, Jimmy Jeekins in fourth place. I think we've got Teddy McPherson in fifth place, and then I think we've got Ben Crosley and Holly Woolley picking up the 6th and 7th positions. So yeah, Will's out front, getting a slight gap. We've got Corey Padgett in third place, and then we've got Tyler McAlpin there in third, and I'm sure Tyler is going to be trying hard to get past Corey, because like I say, he wants to keep up his championship lead. And yeah, we can see that the Micra's there in fourth place, which is Jimmy Jeekins, is very, very close with Tyler. Now pushing Corey, pushing him hard around the Blyton track. And there we can see in fifth place Teddy McPherson, and I think it was Holly Woolley in sixth, and then Ben Stockley in seventh position. And there we can see a change for second position as Tyler gets a good run around the outside into turn 1, picks up second place now from Corey, drops Corey down to third, sorry, as they snake their way through the middle section. And it looks like Tyler's possibly missed a gear there. Corey's come back at him and has now gone back into second place. Tyler down into third. Jimmy's now closing on that gap in fourth place, and yeah, it looks like we're going to have another change for second and third here as we go into this tight middle section, and Tyler does squeeze through into second place.
Well, they say rubbing is racing, and we saw a little bit of that, a little bit of rubbing. Seems to be safely through from the full contretemps at the hairpin. Very close racing.
It's been great so far. So yeah, Tyler's now got second and got a slight gap. Corey's dropped down to third, and it's Jimmy Jeekins now that's hard on the tail of Corey Padgett to see if he can claim that last podium spot. But Teddy McPherson in a bit of a lonely 5th position there. Again, another Suzuki Swift, and then I think it's Ben Stockley in 6th and Holly Woolley in 7th position. So yeah, Tyler's got a bit of a gap on Corey now, and I think Tyler's going to try and chase down Will. 3 laps to go, or 2.5 laps to go.
It's a long old lead that he's got. And Jimmy got it a little bit too much speed perhaps going into that corner, a little heavy on the brakes. The back end was light because there's not a lot of weight at the back of those Micras, and it decided to do its own thing, but he managed to keep it in control and
he has,
carry on.
He's dropped out the clutches of the back of Corey now, and he's dropped into the hands of Teddy McPherson. I know Teddy will be trying to get past the Nissan Micra, and there we can see Ben Stockley down to 6th, and then Holly Woolley and her Suzuki Swift picking up in 7th position. The leaders still out front. We've still got Will Ovenden out in front, Tyler McAlpin in 2nd, and then Corey Padgett in 3rd position. Jimmy's still picking up 4th there, has dropped back. So I think his chances of getting onto the podium have possibly gone, but we all know we're Rallycross, anything can change.
It's not one till you pass the finish line and that checkered flag is waved, or in this case the red flag.
Yeah, so Will at the moment qualified on pole, had two really strong, or 3 really strong heats I should say, got himself on pole. He's pretty much led from the light, apart from a little bit of a battle with Corey going into turn 1, but since then he's gone away and he's leading as he's about to start lap number 5. And Tyler was gaining on him. I think Corey was still in 3rd. We can see there Teddy McPherson on your screen in the white car, chased hard by Ben Stockley, as I say, who's only in his 2nd event, doing very well. First visit to Blyton, and then Holly Woolley's in 7th position. So yeah, these are a little bit closer, and Ben's certainly gaining on Teddy, and we'll be trying to get up and move up into 5th position.
It's hard to remember that the guys that we're seeing racing at the moment are between 13 and 17 years old, doing ever so well, belying their very young age.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you can start at 13 in this category. These guys haven't even got a road licence, and they're pushing out some great racing and some great results, not just here but on other venues we go to across the season. And we can see there the battle for 5th place. And there's Will, who's he's on lap 5, going to go through this infield section down the long straight, and he'll turn into the right-hander, which takes him across the finish line to start his last lap. And yeah, providing Will doesn't have any mistakes on his last lap, he's probably on for another junior win here today at Blyton. And 2nd place is still Tyler.
Will's certainly growing in confidence, race by race, following in father Tristan and older brother Tom's wheel tracks. I was going to say footsteps, and wheel tracks seems more appropriate.
Very big shoes to fill, I guess. Yeah, Tristan racing in the supercar category with an ex-Hansen Citroen DS3, and Tom is gone into the world of circuit racing in the BMW Mini Championship, which on some occasions just follow the BTCC. So it's certainly given him a high pedigree to race in front.
Yeah, racing with Accelerate Motorsport as he is.
Yeah, and Tyler,
Tristan we're expecting to see later this month at Liddon Hill for the World Rallycross Championship, where he'll be in one of the supporting categories with other supercars, racing that DS3 of his, which he seems to be growing into and is really finding his feet.
Yeah, he does.
Clearly, we've got
Will's going to come across the line and take the win in this A final, which he is. So Will's across the line and takes the win. It's a great result from, I guess, lights to flag, apart from that slight battle he had with Corey going into turn 1. Bit of a gap there. Tyler did drop back. He made a mistake on the infield section coming off the loose. So Tyler finishes in 2nd place. Corey picked up 3rd. And then Jimmy Jenkins was in 4th, Teddy McPherson's 5th, and then a little bit of a gap, but Ben having a great day, debuted at Blyton, second Rallycross event, picking up 6th position, and then Holly Woolley coming home in 7th position. So yeah, great race by the juniors, sponsored by AVM Motors. It's their race final done, and the next final. Yeah, we can see there on the replay on your screens at the moment, Tyler just seemed to go in a bit deep and a bit hot, going into the middle section off the loose, possibly getting caught out on the loose, and also the wet track. And then, but he pulled it back together and came home in 2nd place, so that should keep him in a strong position in the championship standing. So let's move on to the cross car race final. On pole position with 3 heat wins was Will Butler. 2nd place on the grid, and starting in the middle is David Attiwell and fellow Devonian Holly Woolley, Luke Holly I should say, on the outside of the front row. We've got David Attiwell there in the 850cc vehicle in the middle, 2 600cc vehicles on the inside and the outside. And then on the 2nd row, it's good to see Stephen Burke making his debut here at Blyton in these FIA cross cars. And then we've got Ethan Rouse also making his debut, not in the cross cars. He did race at Pembrey back in April, but it is his debut here at Blyton. So he's qualified in 5th, but I know he didn't get off the line in the 3rd heat. So these guys have provided some great racing so far today. Again, 6 laps. Category sponsored by SGS Gases, which is Luke Holly's father's company. And as the lights go green and we're away, we can see that it's Will that doesn't make the best of starts again and is beaten away by David Attiwell, and it's close and frantic going into turn 1, into turn 2, and it's David Attiwell that comes out in front, going on to the loose. And we've got it's Luke Holly that's in 2nd place. We've got in 3rd place Will Butler, who's dropped from pole position to 3rd position, but having seen what he did in the 3rd heat, I'm sure he'll come back from that position. And then Stephen Burke, picking up 4th place, but it's very, very close between him and Will. Coming into the middle couple of turns, and then we can see it's Ethan there in 5th place, and Luke Holly goes out wide. He's on the grass doing a bit of grass tracking, and he's now dropped from 2nd to 4th. So Luke's got it all to do to come back up and claim hopefully a podium and some higher position points for the championships. Now he's pushing Stephen Burke all the way, coming around the last turn as we start down into lap number 2. But out front is still David Attiwell, chased through there by Will Butler. Then we've got Stephen Burke in 3rd, although he's coming under a lot of pressure from Luke Holly, and I think Luke will be trying to get that 3rd position back himself on the podium and hopefully chase down the likes of Will and David Attiwell as well. I think Stephen possibly made a slight mistake there, but he has still kept 3rd place. And in 5th place we've got Ethan Rouse. So cross cars shortly going to be coming around to start their 3rd lap. A little bit more spread out than we've seen in other races, but Stephen's done the same thing as what Luke did in the previous lap. He's gone wide, he's doing a bit of grass tracking. That's unfortunate, dropping from a podium position down to 5th, but let's see if Stephen can gain some pace and catch back up. And back with the leaders, and as I predicted and what happened in the third heat's Will, who dropped down off the grid both in the 3rd heat race and then in this start of the year final, has now clawed back some ground and is now chasing David Attiwell down. But it's David out front in this 850cc FIA Yakar cross car, who's out in front, but Will Butler in 2nd. Luke Holly a bit of a distant 3rd, but he's starting to pick up some of the pace. And then we've got Ethan Rouse and Stephen Burke trying to gain up from the error on the previous lap where he decided to do a bit of grass tracking. Very flamboyant there with Luke trailing the back end round. So as we start lap number 4, David Attiwell still out front, we've got Will Butler in second place, and it's normally on this tight, twisty first couple of corners down at turn 1, turn 2 and onto the loose that Will seems to carry a lot more speed into this corner. Definitely gains up on the back of David Attiwell, and then David does seem to pull away through the tail end of this corner and then going in through the middle section as he brake hard into the chicane in the middle of the lap. Back ends scrabbling for grip in these light machinery, high-powered machinery that do have a rev range of something around 14 to 16,000 RPM, so there's a fair bit of grunt and RPM, and Will has properly gained on the back of David Attiwell and is hopefully going to try and gain as we go into lap number 5, and is now right in the exhaust of David Attiwell as they go down the start and finish straight. And we're back on lap number 5, and Will's weaving left and right as we're going into turn 1. He's trying the same manoeuvre he's tried on previous laps.
You can't fault his commitment, can you?
Indeed not. No, he's trying to
giving it everything.
He's trying to take a wider line and cut back in, and yeah, number 32 seems to be slowing up slightly. Yeah, we've got Luke Holly there in third position. Anyway, back to the leaders, and we can see that David Attiwell is still out front. Will Butler's still chasing him hard, and I'd put my bet on that going down the start and finish straight as we're about to start the last lap. If Will can be close enough down the start and finish straight, I think into turn 1, Will try that daring manoeuvre around the outside. And see
or
if he
might he swat it up and change it so he's not predictable? We'll see in a few seconds.
We will indeed. So yeah, as they go
Nothing
down
in
the
it,
line of
is
stern, down into turn 1, Will definitely carries a lot more speed into turn 1. Does try around the outside.
David playing a more defensive line.
Slightly, but Will is a lot closer on this lap, the final lap, than he had been on the previous 5, I'd say. And I think his best bet is probably down into the last few corners that they're going to approach shortly before they go down the straight and into the final turn. So under braking, David's been a little bit more cautious on the brakes than Will is. Will certainly gains in these corners, and he'll be
David taking a very tight line
looking
into
to see if he can come down the inside of him, and he's there, but not quite
so
there.
little in
It is close, and it looks like David Attiwell is going to keep a tight line. Possibly he does keep a tight line, and David Attiwell wins. Will Butler in second place, and those guys had a great battle for 6 laps. Third place is Luke Holly, a little bit out of shape coming over the line, but great race from Luke. Stephen Burke, I think, did retire possibly, so we've got Ethan Rouse coming home in 4th place. I didn't see Stephen for the last couple of laps. I think Stephen possibly did retire, so we'll just the 4 finishers. Okay, our next final on the track is going to be the Super Modified A final. And for 2 rounds in a row, it's Phil Chicken in his Super 1600 C2 that's gone and had a great group of qualifying races today, and has gone and put himself on pole position. Next to him, it's got to be the most unique car here today, and it's the only one that exists anywhere in the world in terms of rallycross. And that's the Mercedes SLK with a 4-litre V8 engine by Richard Moore. So he's in the middle of the front row, and the chances are off the line that thing is like a rocket, so I can well imagine he will probably lead it at turn 1. And then on the outside we have Maciej Flozak in his Ford Fiesta Mark 7 Turbo, and there's Todd Crooks on the second row. I think he's going to be by himself on the second row, 201. James Avison will be a non-starter, having rolled in Heat 3 with a car that wasn't repairable, so I think Todd is by himself. And then lining up on the back of the grid on the inside of the third row. Coming back to Rallycross after a couple of years out. I think he last competed in 2020 as Cameron Whitley, so he previously raced in production in a Ford Focus. Today's debut in the MB Motorsport built VW Polo with his 1900cc turbocharged diesel engine. So he'll be aiming to smoke out some competitors. And the last car on the grid, wasn't sure if he was or wasn't going to be there, is Gary Cook, who has got issues with drive shafts during the day, and I think he probably will just trundle off the line and get a higher position of points over and above the ones that didn't start this A final. So yeah, thinking of his championship position. Anyway, off the line and away turn one now into the loose was the Mercedes, which is what I thought would happen. Phil Chicken's there in second place, and then we've got a great scrap between Maciek Flozak in the Fiesta Mark 7 Turbo, and also a turbocharged BMW Mini Cooper S of Todd Crooks, and then followed by Cameron Whitley, and then I think it's Gary Cook coming up in sixth place. And yeah, we've got a really, really close battle, as we've seen during the day. The Mercedes SLK has certainly got, oh, it's very close there, going into the middle group of turns, and there was contact there between the Mercedes Phil and the Fiesta of Maciek Flozak, and I don't think Maciek has kept going, or he's certainly not where he was. So anyway, Mercedes is certainly the quickest car down the straights, does seem to lose out in the loose sections. Yeah, so Richard Moore over the line down the start finish straight. Maciek going very, very wide there, coming down the start finish straight. We've got Phil Chicken in second, Todd Crooks third. Maciek Flozak got himself going after coming stuck on one of the middle sections, now in fourth place, and then Cameron Whitley keeping the top four in close check in fifth place with the VW Polo. I think, as predicted, I think not so where Maciek's going, but he seems to have I think he forgot where the circuit was there for a second, but he has kept going and has joined back in behind Todd. It does look like Gary Cook has kept going, and I think even with running on one drive shaft, he's potentially better off to go round and keep going round, because potentially there was also some non-starters but also some non-finishers, which means that he picks up more championship points. So certainly a smart move there from Gary, and thinking of the long aim. And yeah, Richard's still leading, but it's close between these four cars and has been close throughout the qualifying. Phil's trying to keep the Mercedes in check, and is certainly there or thereabouts. Todd is keeping a tight line there going into third place, and is gaining slightly on Phil with the BMW Mini, and then Maciek Flozak is there with a turbocharged Mark 7 Fiesta. Let's see if he manages to keep on track and use the right bit of tarmac on this lap, which he does indeed. So these four close together. Phil's definitely got the pace and closes up through the loose sections and the twisty sections. Mercedes definitely got the grunt down the straight with its 4-litre V8 engine, and Phil's certainly going to be pushing him all the way, but I think Richard's
some action going on behind as well. Todd getting up on the inside and taking second.
He has, yeah. So Todd,
wow,
and Phil Chicken swapping positions there, and those guys. Who's going to be
last on the brakes into that last corner?
Yeah, Todd's up into second place, and those drivers did have a coming together in a previous event at Pembrey. They didn't end well, so let's hope between the two of them they play fair on the circuit. But that change in second and third, and the challenges round through that middle section, has allowed Richard just to get a couple of car lengths clear of second place.
And anyone looking at the runners in this race, John, would see what an amazing variety of cars we have in the super modified class, with that front engine rear wheel drive V8 Mercedes with this huge grunt and large engine, very sophisticated suspension, which was actually designed for Richard by Martin Skanker, multiple former European Rallycross champion.
Yeah, it was indeed.
But he's
and
under
Richard's
a lot of pressure now.
Very tight line there, and I think he's learned through previous races that tight line, and if the driver behind gets stuck behind him, it's exactly what happened on 2 laps there. First of all to Phil and now to Todd, and he does create a change of positions behind. So Todd's still in second, Phil is in third, and as you say, we did originally have a 10-car grid here today, with all 10 cars being of a different car and manufacturer and chassis. So yeah, to your point, Steve, it's just proving the diversity of this class. Unfortunately, earlier on today, we lost Dale Ford with an engine problem with his Corsa. We lost Michelle Swallow with a head gasket failure with a Porsche. And as I say, we lost James Avison, who ruled in Heat 3. And we also lost Andy Grant in his Corsa in Heat 1 with radiator damage and chassis damage. So yeah, what would have potentially been a much closer and filler grid of 10 cars has dropped down to 5. I think we're going to come around these last few corners and start.
So the last lap, really, any of these three could win.
Extremely
it's
close,
neck
as we
and
can see Phil coming down to the line between second and third. It's really, really close. So far, the racing's been clean. They haven't touched. Phil's gone slightly wide.
Lost a little ground
there. And they now start their final lap. Can anyone do it?
Hello, we've got someone going the wrong way. I think that's...
Not sure what was going on there. We've got a
magic?
vehicle and a car going the opposite way down the start and finish straight. So I don't know if Masniak Flozak have possibly spun.
Have we got a red flag?
I think we've got a red flag.
We must have, because
we've got a red flag.
Why else would they be driving that slowly?
That slow.
Oh,
indeed. So
robbed us of a nail biter finish.
Yeah, we've gone past 3/4 distance, so the clerks of the course and the organising team here may well declare that as a result taken at the previous lap. So I think via the previous lap we would have had Richard Moore at the front, Todd Crooks in second, Phil Chicken third. At that point I think Masniak Flozak was still there in fourth, although he then did disappear and then decided to go clockwise around the Blyton circuit. And then, it would have been Cameron Whitley in the VW Polo making his debut. And Gary, I think Gary Cook in the Fiesta did retire on lap 3, but had completed enough laps to get more points than people that didn't start in this race.
Yeah, he was suffering with drive shaft problems from one of the earlier heats. So he did enough to qualify for the final, but wasn't able to do race distance, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's been running all day just with one drive shaft in that car today, so yeah, he's just done enough to first of all qualify for the final in this SG haulage and Rotec Limited super modified A final. And it's great to see that Mercedes take a win. That's the first event that this Mercedes has lasted the distance. He's had a lot of problems up at Knockhill in October last year in its first ever event. He had a transmission and gearbox and rear diff issue with the Mercedes here in March. He missed Pembrey in April, and it's great to see that vehicle doing extremely well. And it does look, despite us completing more than 3/4 distance, we have got time on our side. We can run and race until a 6 PM curfew here. It's only just before 4:30. So the organisers have decided to run the distance on this one. So we will go back to a clean slate, back to 0 laps. And some would say we do it all over again.
Whilst hoping that everyone's got enough fuel to do the extra distance. If you're only carrying around as much fuel as you need for the expected 6 laps, you wouldn't necessarily be putting in a splash of
that could
petrol
become
enough for 12.
Yeah, regulations do state they should have enough fuel in their tanks to be able to do 2 runs. But with the size of the fuel tanks that some of these cars do have in them, that may prove a slight challenge. So we'll let the drivers decide if they've got enough fuel or not got enough fuel, and then we'll see how many we start with. At the moment, I think we've got 4 of the original 5 starting. So we've got Phil Chicken at the front. We've got the Mercedes alongside him, and it's Masniak Flozak that's missing from the front row, which was actually the vehicle that mysteriously was going the opposite way down the start and finish straight.
Yes, he's returned back to the paddock, and that's it for the day for him, unfortunately.
That's Masniak, so he won't be starting the rerun. Todd Crooks starts on a lonesome second row by himself, and then Cameron Whitley with the VW Polo starting on the back row of the grid. So yeah, the non-starters in this is James Avison in the Honda, Masek Flozak in the Fiesta. We also don't have the Porsche of Michelle Swallow, and yeah, Gary Cook that started the first run, but is no longer.
For some bizarre reason, the magnets are obviously on the infield here, and the whole of the grid on the restart is over on the near side.
And I can see from our commentary position in a paddock, Gary Cook is going back out for the rerun. Again, clever driver is Gary. Gary's been around long enough to know that now by starting this rerun,
he's going to get some points.
He's going to get higher points than he would have had previously, with the fact that Masiek is not starting. There's also some non-starters that did qualify above him, so from a championship position, Gary, who's the one of the Loughborough College lecturers in his Ford Fiesta ST.
It's a little bit difficult to recognise because it looks very different from how we're used to seeing it in its orange and white livery from before.
Yeah,
the sponsorship from Wera, which is has meant so much to both Gary and then Alex Fletcher, who we'll see racing shortly, racing from their base at Loughborough College, to have the backing of Wera Tools. It meant so much, not just because their livery has changed and they're all sporting very smart overalls and paddock gear, but also that the financial injection from Wera Tools has meant that they can be confident of running both cars for the whole season, which is not really a situation that they were sure of before. So thank you, Wera, for helping them.
Yeah, it's a great backer for the two cars, and I know Wera are heavily involved in the college, in the workshops and provision of tools, and I know both Gary and Alex have worked hard since the Autosport show in January to pull this deal together with Wera, who are also title sponsors of the Motorsport UK karting championships in the UK, and tend to be big supporters of junior disciplines and following drivers right from the grassroots and entry level in motorsport. So yeah, let's hope the Wera Tools name is here with this Loughborough College team, and let's hope it's a name that's going to stay in the BTRDA Rallycross Championship moving forward.
You mentioned about
for future seasons.
About the Loughborough College team, John. Of course, that both drivers are supported by students from Loughborough College at every round in the paddock, and beforehand with preparing the cars, repairing, preparing, tweaking, and then helping them run and maintaining them between each race throughout the day. And it's brilliant hands-on experience for the students as they undertake their motorsport accreditations and qualifications. And now I do detect there's a little orange on the inside of Gary's door, demonstrating there's a little bit of orange just there, just to remind us. No, clearly the car's been wrapped very, very nicely too, making a very different kind of livery from anyone else in the paddock and out on track here at this meeting. A little bit difficult to see some of the other liveries because they are covered with some of the Blyton dirt from the loose. It's having been watered a little earlier on to keep the dust down. As, above everything else, health and safety is very important, and we can't have drivers going through a cloud of dust and not being aware of any obstacles, including other cars, in front of them. We do want them to race and enjoy their racing, but we do want it to be safe. We don't like to see any unnecessary damage. Not that there should be any necessary damage either.
Yeah, let's hope not. So yeah, no, great initiative, as you say, Steve, with the college students being able to actively get some practical experience in motorsport events, which is difficult to do in the workshops. So yeah, no, great initiative with Loughborough College. And yeah, slightly delay here. Unsure why at the moment. Possibly it's related to the vehicle that was going the opposite way down the start finish straight, who obviously has gone back to paddock, but there's some movement with the marshals on the grid, so they may also be deciding whether they call a result based upon a previous result as well. So let's see what happens. But with the 5 cars we've got on the grid, as Steve alluded to earlier on, great diversity in terms of machinery. We've got the Super 1600 Citroen C2,
which is an incredible bit of kit when
Phil
you
Chicken.
consider that how quick it is and nimble, with its 1600cc engine with its sequential gearbox revving up to 11,000 RPM, which is considerably higher than road cars generally do, really up into the levels of motorbike engines at 11,000 RPM. So that little engine works very, very hard. Thankfully, it hasn't got a lot of weight to pull around. Now looks like that race has the race result has been called.
Okay, yeah, so we've just had confirmation through to us that the result will be declared. We've gone over 3/4 distance, which is what I thought, so the result will be declared as per previous run that you saw. So it will indeed be Richard Moore that takes his debut win with that car, the 4-litre V8 Mercedes SLK. I think it'll be taken back a lap, so I think Todd potentially will be classified second, and then Phil Chicken in third, Cameron Whitley in fourth, and then the last starter and finisher would have been Gary Cook. So as we move swiftly on, we've got 3 finals left. Production A final will be the next up. That'll be closely followed by the BMW Mini A final, and then the last final of the day will be the Classic A final. So as we go to the grid, I'll call them out. So there's the Weira Tools, Loughborough College, Honda Civic Type R qualified on pole position for Alex Fletcher. Alongside him, also in the 2-litre class, will be number 100, and that's Mark Henry in his very unique Alfa Romeo 147, and on the outside of the front row, former champion in this category, is Martin Peters with the Citroen Saxo on the outside. So he's the 1600 16 valve car on the outside of the front row. On the second row, making his debut in Rallycross, driving the X Mark Finch Renault Clio 182, is Will Noon, and alongside him is 284, just coming to his position at the moment, and that's James Ash with his Citroen C2 VTS. At the moment, Will's by himself there on the second row. Let's see if James is going to come into his grid position, and he does indeed. So he's there in 5th place on the grid. And then if we move across to the third row, we should see Dan Griffiths lining up on the inside in the ex-Tom Brooks Citroen C2. There it is, number 88 alongside him. Former modified racer and also races in the Ford Saloon Championship on the circuit is Rob Tinto with his Ford Puma. And then on the outside, we've got the Suzuki Swift of our Lithuanian driver, and that's Kestusis Buktas in his Suzuki Swift. And the non-starter in this one, although he did qualify for the final, is number 26, and that's Stuart Woolen, who had an incident in Heat 2, which means his car wasn't able to continue in the event and will be the non-starter in this. So we've still got an 8-car A final, and I'm sure it'll be fast and frantic again, 6 laps. This category is sponsored by the MOT Group, and yeah, just covering massive diversity of cars. We've got Citroen Saxos, we've got Alfa Romeos, we've got Pumas, we've got Renault Clios, we've got Suzuki Swifts, and we've obviously got the Honda Type R on the front. And let's see if it's going to be the Honda that makes the best start. It isn't, it's the Alfa Romeo of Mark Henry that makes a better start going into turn 1, closely followed by Alex Fletcher in the Honda, and then dropping into 3rd place is Martin Peters with the Citroen Saxo. I think it was James Ash there in 4th place, and we can see there the Lithuanian driver in the Suzuki, which has got 8th position at the moment. You can see Will Noon there, and Dan Griffiths just coming shoot through short along Rob Tinto. Mark Henry's rear end of the Alpha is a little bit light as he came through the loose there, and a bit of contact there between the Renault Clio of Will Noon and Dan Griffiths, coming a little bit of contact, but nothing too serious, and the 2 cars continue there in 5th and 6th place. Rob Tinto's in 7th place as we pick up the leaders once again. The Alfa Romeo leading of Mark Henry, closely followed by Alex Fletcher with the Honda Type R, and then we've got Martin Peters with the Citroen Saxo VTS, who's the first of the 1600 cars in third place. Significantly lighter, probably about 120 kilos lighter than the two cars in front, so Martin hopefully will be using that weight advantage to try and gain on the two cars in front as Alex closes down Mark. Again, trying that wide line to try and cut back into an inside line. Not quite doing it that time as he does close up, coming across what is now a loose, muddy section through the middle. Through the middle section there, we've got the Alpha up front of Mark Henry, closely followed by Alex Fletcher, who does slow up under braking, and Martin does close up with the Citroen Saxo now in third place. And Martin had a good win here from lights to flag back in March. He had clutch issues on day one down at Pembrey and didn't finish, and then finished off with a win at day two down in April at Pembrey. So again, we'll be looking for some good championship points. So we've got the Weira Tools car there in second place, followed by Martin Peters, the garage owner from Stockton-on-Tees, not too far up the road here in Lincolnshire. I think yeah, Martin's got a bit of a gap over and above fourth place. Okay, so as we're now on lap number 3. Yeah, the Honda's at the front there. We've got the Honda chasing down the Alpha, and then the Citroen Saxo in third place. And then let's see who's behind that. So we've got James Ash in the Citroen C2 in fourth place. We've got the Clio of Will Moon making his debut in Rallycross, although he has done some circuit track days here, but he's never done the Rallycross section here. That's the ex-Mark Finch Renault Clio, going through the bumps there in the middle section. And the Renault's coming under a bit of close scrutiny there from Dan Griffiths, who I think is only his 4th ever Rallycross meeting in his Citroen C2. Yeah, so the Clio's in a C2 sandwich here, with the C2 one pulling away and one trying to gain on Will. And I know we've got the Suzuki picking up the tail end. So yeah, as we go on to lap 4 with these cars, and the position seems to have stabilised. I can see the Alpha we still had at the fronts. So Mark Henry still leading from Alex Fletcher with the Weira Tools sponsored Loughborough College Honda Civic Type R in second place, and then Martin Peters. I think the gap may well have slightly closed there between the Honda and the Alpha. We've got the Citroen that's slightly dropped back from Martin, so he seems to be in a fairly lonesome third position, but it would mean he does win his 16 valve class, so good points in the class, and third overall in the A final will be good points in the production championship. There we can see James Ash, who is in 4th position. We've got Will in 5th, Will Noon in the Renault in 5th position, and then 6th position Dan Griffiths. And then behind that I can see, just catching out the corner of my eye there, we had the Ford Puma of Rob Tinto, and then behind that we've got the Lithuanian driver in his Suzuki Swift. And we can see down the start and finish straight, Alex looked like he was teeing himself up for a move, weaving left and right. Certainly seems to have the pace to be able to close up on Mark. Whether he can get past him in the next lap and a half, we'll have to wait and see. But we can see Martin's still got a fairly lonesome but trouble-free 3rd position, so he'll be fairly happy with that, given the fact that it's 2 2-litre cars that are in front of him. And we can see the battle has gained and closed a little bit between James Ash and Will Noon, although Will potentially making a little bit of a mistake going through the loose and then through the bumpy sections, running wide, which allowed Dan Griffiths just to gain very slightly. And we can see they're going to go into the final lap now, coming down this much longer straight this season than we'd had in previous years, which certainly does allow these cars to stretch the legs. Going through the final turn and across the finish line to start the final lap, and it is the Alfa Romeo that's still leading from the Honda. And let's see what Alex does this time. Alex definitely seems to carry more pace around that final corner. He definitely seems to have the pace going down the start and finish straight. It's now on the outside of the Alfa, making a great move around the outside, but I don't think he's got enough car length in front. And so far in this race, Very untypically, the action has been close, but so far contact free, which is great news to see the production drivers all racing fairly. So as I say, we're on the last lap, we've got half a lap to go. The Alpha's got a couple more car lengths over the Honda than we had previously. So yeah, the Alpha in front, going through the middle section here. And yeah, this will certainly be a very welcome win from the MOT group sponsored Alfa Romeo and the MOT production category sponsored category, although the Honda of Alex is gaining and trying to potentially make a last daring manoeuvre, but he doesn't quite do it. It's close across the line. The Alpha wins from Mark Henry, second place is Alex Fletcher, third place is Martin Peters. Let's see who comes home in fourth, which was James Ash. Fifth is Will Noon in his debut event in the Renault. Sixth place we've got the Citroen C2 there of Dan Griffiths, and the ex-Tom Brooks Citroen C2 VTS. We've got the Ford Puma coming home, and then the last car over the line will be the Suzuki Swift, the Lithuanian driver Kęstutis Butkus, in only his fourth ever Rallycross event. So well done, and again I guess just proving the diversity of machinery, and all in all a 6-lap A final sponsored by the MOT group, and fairly incident and contact free. So 2 finals left. We come to the one make BMW Mini final next, and it's great to see the championship leader in the BMW Mini category, Abby McGuinness, who had 2 fantastic heats today. In the first heat and the third heat, puts it on pole position for this A final, and we'll be looking for another win. Like I say, Abby's currently leading the Bond Street Autos and Cooper Tyres BMW Mini category, having a fantastic season so far. Alongside her on the grid, already in position, is number 4 Dave Ellis, and alongside him number 51 Wesley Wickens. It's his first ever event here at Blyton, first event this year with BTRDA, so great performance from Wesley, putting it onto the front row. Second row we can see Ben Sayre and Harvey Harman having some good qualification races, and I can see on the there we are, there's Ben, who's qualified in 4th position. Alongside him is Harvey Harman in the blue car. And then if we move across to the third row of the grid, we can see that we've got number 20 on the inside, which is Gus Glass. We've got 744 Alan Laidler alongside him, who's just come into position. And then on the outside, although I think he possibly may well be missing from the grid, he didn't come out for the third heat, and that's number 76 Jonathan Upchurch. And then on the back row of the grid, the green and red machinery, I can see that we've got number 74, which is Jarek Upchurch, the closest one to us, on the inside of that back row. And then we've got 581, the teammate Harrison Barnes. So these are all identical BMW Mini R53 supercharged 1.6 vehicles. Again, we're going to be over 6 laps. Like I say, it's Abby McGuinness that's on pole position, who's also leading this championship at the moment. We've got Dave Ellis alongside her, and the closest championship challenger is actually on the second row, which is Ben Sayre, currently under starters orders for all these cars. We've got an 8 car grid, I think it is. Looking at that, and the lights go green. Fantastic start from Abby, and fairly close there and even between her and Dave Ellis. Wesley Wickens does drop back, and it's Ben Sayre that comes up and is now challenging Dave Ellis for that second place. So a great start for Ben Sayre. It's Wesley Wickens that has gone from hero to zero with a front row start, and he's now down, I think that's probably in 6th or 7th position as they bump across the loose section. And a bit of contact there from Harrison Barnes and Gus Glass. So yeah, nothing too dramatic, but it certainly does mean that those vehicles were a little way back, and we can see that as things calm down slightly on this lap 1, we've got Abby McGuinness taking up the lead. We've got Ben Sayre, who's come from the second row of the grid, qualifying in 4th in second place, and I think it was Dave Ellis in 3rd position. It is indeed. Harvey Harman's in 4th, Wesley Wickens in 5th, We've got number 74, Jarek Upchurch, in 6th position, and there's Abby coming over to complete her first lap. So I'm sure Abby will be keeping her head down and seeing if she can win from lights to flag in this Bone Street Autos BMW Mini category A final.
Entering its second lap, not the oh, there we are, second lap, fantastic. And Abby was, of course, in hard on the heels of Andy Hawkes all the way through last season, and looked like she might have won a number of times during the course of last season. Andy, of course, has moved up this season to the all 4 minis, 4-wheel drive Countryman's. Abby is clearly looking to put her stamp on the championship this year, though she won't have it all her own way, or not in a hotly contested category like this, with so many competitors running such similar machinery. It's all down to little margins.
All down to the drivers primarily. That's certainly what they would tell me and you, Steve, anyway. But yeah, Abby's focusing on the BTRDA Championship this year, and her aim, having come second best, I guess, to Andy Hawkes last year, as you say, Steve, is to win this championship. The 2 drivers that have been pushing her all year are directly behind her. So yeah, Dave Ellis, and in front of him at the moment is Ben Sayre. So those 3 are the top 3 in the championship this year. Harvey Harman, we can see there in 4th. Wesley Wickens, that started on the front row, has now dropped right the way back to 5th position, and will hopefully be aiming to make up some positions. Those 5 have got a bit of a gap in front of Jarek Upchurch behind, and I can see there's a change for, I think it's 5th and 6th position there, as Alan Laidler was going down at a turn 1 around the outside of Jarek, so we'll have to see how that's panned out. And I think Gus Glass was the final car, but as we can see, these cars coming through the middle section on lap number 3, soon to start lap number 4. Abby's still out front, keeping a tight line. She's been watching what Richard Moore was doing in the Merc, keeping a nice tight line through there, and she's still leading, coming down to start lap number 4.
John, this is yet another race that we've seen today with not a lot in it, and with drivers being very, very close and close contact with each other, but not physical direct contact. So I'm wondering whether that's something to do with the new track layout, encouraging close driving. Oh, we have a roll.
And we've got a roll, and that's Harvey Harman.
Clearly he's been...
So yeah, there's been an incident on track that was off camera. Myself and Steve didn't see that, but yeah, we've definitely got a vehicle up on its side.
Looks like going into
the red flags have come out. So that will be another restart. Hopefully the marshals and a medical will go down to that vehicle as quickly as possible.
And if you ever wondered what's on the tickly side of
just to make sure that the
Mini's tummy,
competitor is okay.
Good example.
Not actual. Yeah, I'm just checking from commentary position, so I can see the red flag has come out. So Abby, Ben and Dave Ellis are going to have to do it all over again, as well as the other competitors.
Medics are out on track, and
we'll let the
wonderful orange army of marshals will.
Yeah,
there we are.
We can see that Harvey is out of the car.
Good to see.
Not sure at this stage whether that was an incident that was something done to by himself. Obviously he's annoyed.
Very annoyed with himself.
Yeah, we're not sure if that's an incident done by himself or whether he was involved with somebody else. But
now, if anyone's reading body language, they can see how upset he is.
Driver is okay. Marshals and fantastic. So I think if our fantastic TV team here and production team here have got a replay for us, so it's just coming through the last turn.
The tyres.
Yeah, he's come through the last turn and
and gone over again.
Yeah, he's gone over two and a half times there. So yeah, just getting caught out with the tyres in the inside of that corner, and we have seen it. Thankfully not this weekend, we have seen it happen before. So yeah, the drivers are going to
form up again,
recoup and form up, and we'll just take a minute break while these cars come back to the grid, and we'll come back to you in just a second.
Mark, I can see from your complexion that you've worked hard for that win.
I did. Yeah, that was hard work. Like, watching behind me and making sure I'm not doing it wrong, and yeah, that was hard, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah, exciting race to watch from where we were, and all the time Alex Fletcher was looming large in your mirrors.
He did. He came around the outside down the bottom bend there, and I thought I've just got to keep in there. Late break, and it was a very late break, but yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
How satisfying?
Very, very long time coming to actually win it outright on the track. We've won the class a bit over the years, but yeah, to win it outright on the track, that was really good. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
How are you going to celebrate?
Oh, I'll have a few beers.
I don't blame you. It was very hard won and well deserved.
Yeah. No, well, thank you. Yeah. No, it's good. Really enjoyed it.
Well, keep it up and we'll see you at Lyddon.
We will do. Yeah, we'll be there.
More of the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done, Mark. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
David, can I see your hands? Because they seem full of steering wheel, trying to keep your car in front of Will.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, still shaking. Yeah, Will was really pushing. You know, he was there. One mistake, he would have had it. But no, won it, and that's it, isn't it? That's what you're here to do, isn't it? Win your race, and that's it. But yeah, anyone who wants to hire one, anyone who wants to drive one, they drive one once, they won't want to go back. Even though the Nova's clawing at me at the moment to get it back in, but something different, isn't it? But yeah, it's been awesome day. Weather's been good, dry, bit mucky in the middle, but it always is here, isn't it? But yeah.
And your mirrors must have been full of Will the whole time.
Yeah.
It must have been what, 1.5 eyes behind you and one in front?
Let's put it this way, I may as well have just put a sticker of Will's cart in the mirrors because he was there the whole time. Well, I did pull away a little bit and then he gained up again. I think when you're in front and you're not chasing someone, you do not ease off, but you think, I'm in front. And then all of a sudden you see someone behind and you're thinking, I'm not in front at the moment. I am, but it might not be for long. But yeah, no, he pushed, he drove well. I mean, I did a third, a second and a first in my qualifiers. Third was because of a suspension setup error, it's my fault. Too many siders last night. And obviously second and first, and then to win the final was a good result. So yeah, over the moon.
And today's your day, David. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, thank you. Thank you to the BTRDA and all the marshals as well.
So the rerun is now underway. Marnus, Harvey Harmon, which was the car that rolled, and we can see from the original grid positions back onto lap number 1, it's again Abby McGuinness that makes the best start from pole position. Goes out in front. It's Jarek Upchurch slightly wide there at the back of the grid, and we can see Dave Ellis in second place, although he's pulling off.
Has he got a problem?
Dave looks like he's got a problem, so that's a massive disappointment for Dave. We've got Ben Sear there in second place. Wesley Wickens has made a better start this time in third position, and I think it was Gus Glass in fourth position, Jarek Upchurch in fifth, and I think sixth position is Alan Laidler. Dave Ellis, we can just see there in the background, the end of turn 1 going into turn 2 seems to have come to a stop, and I think Alan Laidler is also going slow. So at the front on lap number 1, coming into the last few turns before we go back across the start and finish straight, we've got Abby McGuinness at the front. We've got Ben Sayre, the championship challenger, in second, Wesley Wickens in third, Gus Glass in fourth in this Bond Street Autos BMW Mini A final, and in fifth place is Jarek Upchurch. At the corner of my eye I saw a red flag
again.
And I think the Dave Ellis car possibly is parked in a dangerous position, or what the clerks deem as a dangerous position at the that looks like around the end of turn 1 going into turn 2. So I think we'll be going for third time lucky, Steve, if the cars are going to come back and be regridded again. But I guess from Abby and Ben Sayre's perspective, they've potentially lost one of the championship challenges if Dave doesn't get this car restarted. And if he does get it restarted and goes back to the grid under his own steam, he will be able to restart. But let's see what happens as the cars will trundle around for a lap and go back to grid positions again.
So we can expect the restart to be over another 6 laps, and further questions as to have people got enough fuel in the tank to get them to full race distance third time out. So clearly Dave Ellis is stopped, signalling for help, and hopefully we'll be able to get someone to pull him out back to the paddock as quickly as possible.
Yeah, potentially might be Dave Ellis's problem. I mean, they've done 4 laps in the first race. He should have enough fuel, but he did come to a fairly abrupt rolling stop there at the end of turn number 1. So let's see what happens. But we can see out of our commentary position, the cars are slowly coming around back to grid. And again, the front row will line up as it was originally. So Abby McGuinness will be on pole. There's now going to be a gap in the middle where Dave Ellis would have been if he doesn't restart. And then we've got Wesley Wickens on the outside. So I guess Wesley's going to try for third time lucky to get off the line.
Meanwhile,
the grid itself, a decent start.
The grid itself whittles down in numbers.
It does indeed. So yes, the ones that are left, potentially survival of the fittest, are going to get more points. And I guess Ben Sayre potentially going to have a good run because he's going to start on the second row. He's not going to have Dave Ellis in front of him, and potentially can slot through the middle of the front row. Harvey Harmon there won't be on the second row. He was the one that rolled, so better be starting on the second row by himself. And then the balance of the grid should be made up of Gus Glass, Jarek Upchurch and Alan Laidler. But let's see who comes back to the grid.
That is, of course, if Alan's seemed to be going very, very slowly.
Yeah, he was.
At the end of that, maybe he'd got the same problem that Dave has.
Yeah, possibly. And I haven't seen Alan on shot since. So, yeah, let's see if he does or doesn't return. But I can see there on the grid.
Somewhat depleted grid. There is Alan Laidler just coming into the shot on the left-hand side.
So we've got Abby McGuinness.
Correct me if I'm wrong, John, the ex-Craig Lomax car.
Yeah, the one that's there at the moment is Jarek Upchurch that's come in. But
yes, it is.
Yeah, Alan Laidler. Yeah, can't see him from our position where he's at the moment. But anyway, so they've got 5 cars on the grid. We did originally start with 9. The grid originally today did actually start with 11. We lost Harrison Barnes and Jonathan Upchurch earlier on today, but yeah, at the moment we've got Abby McGuinness on pole. The outside of the front row is Wesley. Ben Sayre on the second row. Gus Glass I could see lined up, and Jarek Upchurch also lined up. So potentially an A final starting with 5 cars. The laps will be re-put back to 0. and yes, it will be another 6-lap A final.
So if nothing else, the BMW Mini A finalists are getting value for money from from their entry fee. It's not quite the way that we'd like to see it. We'd much rather have clean racing through to the end and without any incidents and accidents. But these things do happen, unfortunately. That's what motorsport is. Has always had and always will. Hopefully, Dave will not have any particular mechanical maladies to deal with, and we'll be able to race at his usual pace at the end of the month when round 5 of this year's championship happens at Lydden Hill. So keep your eyes peeled for details of that.
Yeah, so Dave's not going to get back to the grid under his own steam. So yeah, just from a championship perspective, when we've got a few seconds, I guess. So Abbey currently leading the championship. Ben Sayre is in second, and then Dave Ellis is in third. Harvey Harmon, which was the blue car that rolled in the previous race, is in fourth. Leanne Sedgwick, this absence today, is in fifth, and then Gus Glass at the moment is in sixth place. James Hawkes was another driver that retired earlier on from the third heats with damage that's not repairable. So at the moment we've got the 5 cars, and yeah, we're waiting for the previous car of Dave Ellis just be cleared from the circuit, and then we can start again with a 6-lap race. Me and Steve, just while we were off air there for a second, we did pick up on some results from the European Rallycross Championship that's taking place in Holgers in Sweden today, and a good result for Irishman Patrick O'Donovan, who's overnight he didn't have a great day yesterday. He was 16th qualifier overnight from the first 3 heats. He knew he had to have a good run in his 4th heat today. Actually punched out a decent position. I think he was certainly in the top 10, and yeah, actual fact, when the points were accumulated up, he actually qualified 11th and put him on the back row of one of the semi-finals. He came through the semi-finals, put it on back row for the A final, finishes quickly, and then he did actually win the A final. So yeah, European A finalist Patrick. So we're going to go.
Looks like we're ready to go now,
Go
John.
live, and I guess both ends of the spectrum from a European Championship back to Blyton Park, and yeah, 3rd attempt. Let's see who gets off the line the best. And again, it's Abby McGuinness making a great start. Also some good pace off the line there is Gus Glass, that's actually come up the 3rd row.
Ooh,
But let's
around
see
the
what Ben
outside.
does. So Ben says
All or
wide,
nothing
wide round
manoeuvre.
turn 1, and actually manages to, does he get it stopped in time? He doesn't indeed. So exuberant manoeuvre going into turn 1, and in fact it's worked out really, really well for Wesley Wickens in 2nd place. We've got Gus Glass there in 3rd, Ben Sayre in the red and white car, who's 2nd in the championship behind Abbey, who's in 4th, and certainly would be looking to improve on that position.
This is certainly going to have a big effect on the championship results.
Yeah,
isn't it,
definitely.
This
If
particular race.
Ben Sayre stays where he is, Abbey out front, potentially well, Abbey would still be leading the championship, and the fact that Dave Ellis didn't finish for some reason, he'll be in fact classified as a 6th finisher. Alan Laidley didn't make the restart either, so we can see Ben's there coming down the straight, going down into the right-hander to turn to start his 2nd lap. He does have the inside line, and
Just a little
I
bit
don't
over the
think
top.
I
Lost
don't think there was
pace.
contact, but certainly there was a bit of a rear end moment there from Gus that has dropped him back into.
I think Gus was perhaps carrying just a little bit too much speed into that last corner, because they were side by side, and it was a battle of who was going to brake last.
Yeah, he was
And
possibly
it looks
watching
like
his.
Gus might have just lost that one.
Yeah,
Lost
watching his rear
space.
view mirrors instead of looking forward potentially. But yeah, it's Abbey up front. Wesley's got a great position here. It's his first BTRDA round of the year, and I'm fairly certain it may well be certainly his first run at Blyton on this layout. I don't think he's been here before. If he has, it's certainly a few years ago. So Wesley's there in 2nd. Gus Glass just potentially losing it in the background, and I can see Jarek Upchurch has also come a cropper with the middle section with the yellow flags waving there. So currently he is in 5th position, and as we go back to the leaders, we can see that Abbey is still up front. Closing on Abbey, I think, is Wesley. So they're now starting lap number 3. 3rd place is Ben Sayre, who's desperate to try and at least get up to 2nd place behind Abbey, certainly from a championship perspective. So Ben's going to be pushing hard 4th place, quite a gap to him, is Gus Glass. And then we've got Jarek Upchurch, again a little bit further back in 5th place. So they are a little bit spread out.
It's good,
See
good
if
to see
Wesley
that
does
Jarek's
manage to.
still at the same speed. It's, so he's losing ground was a driver error rather than something mechanical. So it's good to see that he's still running at usual race pace.
Yeah, fingers crossed we get to a flag this time. And again, yeah, we're going to start lap 4 shortly. We've got Abby up front, keeping a nice, tidy, neat line going through this middle section. Wesley's keeping her honest and is close there in 2nd place, having a good run, having qualified 3rd place on the front row. 3rd place is Ben Sayer, who's getting ever so closer potentially to Wesley and is probably desperate to get that 2nd place. See 3 wheels as the rear wheel just lifts off the ground very slightly, and there's a gap there to 4th, which is Gus Glass, and then in 5th place currently is Jarek Upchurch. So as they go through,
Looks like Wesley's closed up a bit.
Turn 1,
a little bit
Abby
on Abby there.
does run slightly wide, and yeah, Wesley's definitely is closing the gap. Now whether that's Abby just being conservative with her pace, or whether that's Wesley gaining more pace, we'll have to wait and see, but the 3 are definitely closing up as we're coming through this middle section, and we're shortly going to be starting lap number 5. So I think Wesley will be aiming for the win, or trying to get a win. I think at this stage Ben's aiming to hopefully get 2nd place. Let's see what happens.
Well,
As Wesley's
shooting up
trying
the
to
outside.
daring manoeuvre around the outside, but he's going to
back on
find
the
himself on a
inside.
lot
I
of loose
think
gravel,
Abby's
and
running out of fuel. That's what I'm certain of it. That must
potentially,
have been what's
very
happened.
potentially, yeah.
Maybe
So
that's
Abby
why she
from
lost
a
a bit of pace.
potential race win and championship leader has certainly something's made that car stop. It could well be running out of fuel after having 2 races.
Which then leaves the question: Are either our current runners, or any of our current runners, going to make the full race distance this time
Typically
round?
these cars are all built to the same spec, so potentially with the same size fuel tank, depending on how much and how filled it was. But anyway, Wesley's taken up the lead now, which is a great result for Wesley, and certainly if Wesley does manage to win this race, it would be his first, not only BTRDA A final win, it would be his first ever BMW Mini A final win. But Ben's keeping him honest and certainly closing the gap, and I think Ben,
I think he can
with Abby's
taste a win,
demise,
can't he?
and also with Dave Ellis no longer in this race as well, will certainly be the one to hopefully challenge for the lead as they're about to pass
So
Abby,
yellow
and
there
certainly
for the
going
stricken
into the
car
last
of
lap
Abby.
with a wave of yellow, Steve. It's going to mean that Ben's going to have to do his overtake somewhere else, because he won't be able to overtake under yellows. 3rd place is Gus Glass, which would be the final podium position. So as they start lap number 5, in fact last number 6, so we're on the final lap now of this Bourne Street Autos BMW Mini A final, and let's see who on this last lap is going to get to the flag first. As we can see, Jarek Upchurch potentially also may well have run out of fuel at a guess.
If we get too many more, then I think the whole lap will be under a waved yellow with
Let's
cars
hope these
pretty much
two at least,
everywhere.
if not 3rd place Gus Glass, let's hope they can get to the flag
All to play for.
before there are any
Nothing in it.
mechanical or fuel related dramas. But anyway, yeah, as we go through these last couple of turns,
Don't know that we could have expected things to be quite as close to this at the front, bearing in mind Ben Sayer's first corner antics, going so
correct.
wide and losing so much ground.
and they're going to come through to the flag and through the last turn, and it looks like Wesley Wickens is going to get his first ever A final win. So he wins. Ben Sayer, who's currently 2nd place in the championship behind Abby, takes up 2nd place, and in 3rd place is going to be Gus Glass, which is also okay with the demise of other people, but you've got to be in it to win it, and Gus Glass does come home in 3rd place, which is his best result in the championship and also within that car. We can see Jarek Upchurch has got going again, albeit he is a lap and a half down, so yeah, he comes across the line. So yeah, what would have been a full grid of cars had 3 finishes in the end, with the demise of Abby, Jarek, and also Dave Ellis, and also we had Alan Laidler was a non-starter when it came to the final. So we're going to move on to the last the last final of the day, last race of the day, and this is the Melius Limited Classic A final. I guess the disappointing story here will be our pole sitter, Lee Wood, who had 3 fantastic heat wins. He won't be starting this A final. He had engine damage in the 3rd heats, which has meant that he will be a non-starter. And Lee is not only the Classic current championship leader, he's also the BTRDA overall championship leader, so he's going to throw the overall championship up wide open. We can see there second on the grid. Hadley had been there, but anyway, middle of the front row is 183 Jamie McBain. Mamelius, proprietor and owner and also sponsor of this classic category alongside him, albeit you can't see very much of it. There is a Lancia there, and it is a Lancia Stratos for number 99 John Cross. On the second row of the grid there will only be one car, and that's number 91 Alan Tapscott with his Mark II Ford Escort. Missing from the second row is Mark Jones, who's got a head gasket failure with the Toyota MR2. And then the third row on the inside we've got 24 Thomas Edmonds in his Vauxhall Corsa with a brand new 2-litre engine, making his debut here today. That car we've seen out before with a 1600 litre engine in it, it's now gone 2-litre. Alongside him we've got number 22 Dan Sweland, and on the back row number 170 Darrell Ambrose with his Peugeot 106. Yeah, so also missing from the third row would have been Ian Biaggi with a Mini Clubman, and then also missing from the back row of the grid is number 13 Ryan Stutchbury. So we've got a grid of 6 cars in this last final of the day. Wide diversity of machinery. We've got Lancia Stratos there in the front row, Peugeot 205, a couple of Escorts, one Mark II, one Mark 1, the red one there in front of you. Alan Tapscott's got the 2-litre red top engine in it. Dan Sweland's got the 1600 version in his Mark 1 machine, and then the last 2 cars on the grid there, the yellow and white Vauxhall Corsa B. Thomas Edmonds, now gone 2-litre, and then on the back row of the grid we've got the Peugeot 106, former production driver Darrell Ambrose. As I say, classic category, last final of the day, sponsored by Melius Limited. Again, 6 laps of pole sitter. Lee Wood is the non-starter, so like I say, not only the classic championship but also the overall championship is thrown wide open. Got a slight delay on the circuit at the moment. We've got at least 2 minis that need to be retrieved, one of which is Abby McGuinness, and yeah, no, Jarek did make it back, so yeah, we're just waiting for Abby to be pulled from the circuit. I can see behind me in a paddock she's just been pulled back. We'll find out at a later stage if that was fuel related. But anyway, back to the grid, last final of the day. The cars are under order, red lights are on. The Chief Marshal moves across off the grid, we're waiting for the green lights. My bet is on the Stratos off the line, but let's see what happens. And indeed it is the Stratos that makes the best start. Initially the Escort of Alan Tapscott also makes a good start, but it is Jamie McBain that slots into second place going into turn number 1. Alan Tapscott in 3rd, Dan Sweland 4th, Darrell Ambrose 5th. And I think it was Thomas Edmonds there in 6th position, but it's John Cross up front with the Stratos. He had a whole heap of problems, not necessarily today but in previous events. I know John will be looking for a good result today to get his championship back on track, but I also know through the tight and twisty stuff Jamie McBain's probably also had one of his best days, qualifying on the middle of the front row in 2nd position, and we'll be trying to push John Cross, if not get in front of John Cross when it comes to the flag.
So far this year, the season has been very, very disappointing for John. It's had one mechanical problem after another. It's gone through some significant engine problems, engine rebuilds, use of the spare engine, and that's had problems. There's been clutch and gearbox problems, and today seems to be going well. It's good to see. Likewise for Jamie McBain in 2nd in his amazing Peugeot 205. Which is probably one of the more, if not the most powerful front-wheel drive car we have here today. He's had various problems really starting from his role here in round one, back in March, and various mechanical issues as a result, with broken inlet manifold and various other engine and gearbox problems, drive shafts, and it now seems to be sorted. He's a much happier bunny. Talking with him in the paddock earlier on, seems quite relaxed, and he was expecting to have a nice little duel with John Cross in the same way that we've got now. And looking at the way the two cars behave, John Stratos is really untouchable in a straight line when it's behaving, and yet handling wise and on the loose, Jamie's right there with, well, he's making up the gap, which makes for a right cat and mouse race, and fascinating to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I know John's had previous wins in this championship and in both classic and retro. Jamie be looking for his first day final win from what I can remember, and certainly through the loose stuff and the twisty stuff in the middle there is keeping John honest.
Gone
He's
up the
down
inside,
but too tight and twisty there to get past. It's certainly through this middle section and going through down to these left-hand turns that Jamie does manage to gain, but John's keeping a really, really tight line both through that complex and then through the next complex. Alan Tapscott's in third place with a red Escort, red top, Mark II. I think it's Thomas Edmonds, we can see, who was down in sixth, has now come up to fourth place with the Corsa, followed by Dan Swirling with the Escort, and then we've got Darrell Ambrose with his Peugeot 106 at the moment, bringing up the rear of the pack. But good results all round, and a few gaps creeping in, but also some changes in positions. So yeah, let's see how they run over the next two laps. Yeah, Alan Tapscott just missed him in shot there in third place. Thomas Edmonds there in fourth. Dan Swirling's in fifth, and then Darrell Ambrose in sixth place.
Now, we haven't seen much of Thomas this year at all, have we? It's good to see him back and looking quite racy.
Yeah, he had a delay in parts getting this 2 litre engine ready, which meant he missed March and then missed Pembury. He's getting caught out a little bit there through the tight and twisty stuff, and Dan Swirling did initially look like he was gaining a little bit on Thomas, but yeah, they're still fairly close together. You can see in the background there, it was John Cross still leading from Jamie McBain in the Peugeot, and then Alan Tapscott in third, but certainly the battle seemed to be between fourth and fifth there, between the Escort, the Corsa, and up behind the Escort is the Peugeot 106 of Darrell, former production driver, which actually was Thomas Edmonds as well. So Thomas Edmonds in the Corsa, previously driven an MG ZR in production, but now moving up to classics. And I know there is talk of his dad potentially coming out in a Corsa, and we can see up the front the gap has closed once again on lap number 5 of 6. So we're shortly going to be joining or starting the last lap, and it's John Cross up front, still leading with the Stratos. Jamie's keeping him honest, and as we've mentioned, through the tight twisty stuff, Jamie's definitely got the better handling car of the two, with the and Jamie under braking gets very, very close to the back end of
I thought things were going to go sour then, but thankfully they both got round safe and sound.
They did seem to avoid each other, but John
now
back on
his
the
last lap.
Quick stuff does pull away, so which I'm thinking John will do down the start and finish straight. He's going to pull away, but
he's not
Jamie
pulling away that
keeping him
much this
honest.
time. Jamie's right behind him. Place her bets now.
Jamie's down the inside. He's not quite got
very close
enough of. But he is trying, and he's trying hard. I think he's possibly just on his boot lid, moving to the inside, moving to the outside, trying to unsettle John.
Bit of contact.
Definitely a bit of contact there, going into the tight twisty bits, which has unsettled John. Back end of the Stratos was definitely loose, so we'll see if that stays intact. And it looks like the front wing of Jamie's.
Thankfully, the whole clamshell at the back there is loose, and it's not a mechanical thing.
Yeah, so as they come round, I think John's gonna put his foot down across the last straight, round the right-hander. Jamie may well do a do or die moment, but I don't think he's going to do it, and he doesn't. So John Cross wins in the Stratos. Jamie McBain comes in second place with a Peugeot, one of his best weekends and best results. And we can see there's been a change gone the last lap. So third place on the road and picking up a podium actually was Thomas Edmonds. Alan Tapscott would come home in 4th position. Didn't see Dan Swayland there. If Dan Swayland did or didn't come across the line, not sure. And then we've got the Peugeot at the back. In fact, yeah, Dan Swayland did come across the line. So Dan Swayland was in 5th place. And then Darrell Ambrose picked up 6th position in the Melius Limited A final. And that wraps up round 4 of the Cooper Tyres BTRDA Rallycross Championship for 2023 here at Blyton. 4 weeks time we do it all again on July the 29th down at Liddon Hill, the home of Rallycross, and I'm sure that based upon the entry we had here and the entry potentially down at Liddon in 4 weeks, we'll have another great event.